Heck and heck. All right. I'm ready to start wherever you are, my guy.
I'm good to go. Should we just do it in the order, or is it? Oh, I guess it's already in alphabetical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're uploaded in alphabetical order, yeah. So, I mean, we can either go by series or we can just go, like, by what's on here. It's whatever works
Let's
better
just
for
go in
you.
the let's go in the alphabetical order. Plus, we're ending with Zoro, so that's cool.
Yes!
All right, so
We already,
who's
we
first? We
already,
got
we already know
Aizawa.
what tier Zoro's going in. Let's be honest.
Yeah, true. Anyway, for those of you that don't know what's happening, I just want to quickly point out that if you notice there's two characters from the same series on here, that's because Lance and I couldn't agree on who we thought the best character in said series was, so we put
Right.
on two.
So this
So
is
that's how we ended
basically,
up.
yeah, it's a tier list of our personal favorite characters from a bunch of different series that both Gail and I have seen. So yeah, if there's only one character from that series, that means me and Gail both agreed that that's our favorite character. And if there's two different characters from that series, then obviously it's my favorite and his favorite.
All right.
Let's do it. You're
Let's
first.
do it. So, okay, yeah, I guess I'm first. So, for My Hero Academia, it was one of the ones that both Lance and I had differing opinions. My favorite character in My Hero is Aizawa, and I won't spoil who his is, but I mean, you can see it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you can
But
see the
anyway,
characters.
but for me, Aizawa is a very cool character. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know if like he's got like more backstory and whatnot. But he's like a very cool character with probably one of my favorite abilities in the entire series. So, but my problem is I don't feel like he's necessarily too deep. I think he suffers from the same problem that a lot of my hero characters do. Not all of them, but most of them suffer from the fact that because there is so many in one setting, the author doesn't dedicate enough time to each and every single one of them for me to like fully like them. I feel like Aizawa is part of the problem with that. He's not like fully fleshed out, but I still think that he's like I still think he's a solid character though. But normally I'd give him like an A, but because this is a list of just like godsend characters, I'm down to put him in B tier. So
I
that's
mean,
what I say.
yeah, and then I'm not really gonna like debate that too far because it's your favorite character, I guess. So like wherever you feel like he should go is like where he should go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I need to resize this real quick. Hold on. I didn't even think about the fact that I didn't have
I'm
my
also
webcam
down
on.
to like readjust these pixelators given
Oh yeah,
how
for
many
sure.
people go in like S and stuff because I can see a lot of S tier people.
How do I want to do this? I guess. Well, hold on. God damn it. I'm trying to get my camera not to look stupid. I'll put it like down there. Okay, good enough. All right. So what you said B tier?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, since these are like our favorite characters from this series, we're not gonna have like trash tier, right? So we're probably not even gonna have C or D to be completely on. Well,
Oh nah, we,
well,
we got we got
yeah,
a few.
no, no, you're right. Yeah, no, you're definitely right. Okay, so I'm up next. So my favorite character that I chose from the series Haikyuu, which by the way, Haikyuu is an S tier series.
Yes,
But I
sir.
chose Asahi. Um, it was really hard to pick like one character just because Haikyuu is
Loaded.
yeah, let's be completely honest. Like most of the characters from Haikyuu are just like absolutely goated, like very well written, great character development, good personalities, chemistry with the rest of the cast, all that stuff. I guess I just kind of like relate on a personal level to Asahi a little bit more than like the other characters, so that's why I chose him. Um, and basically, that's just like I kind of understand. So, like in the first season, he's like not even a member of the team because he quit because he has this, existential thing about like I don't really think that I'm good and I don't really like see the value that I bring to something, so I just like don't want to bring everyone else down, so I'm just going to like quit. And that's like something that I've struggled with a lot like throughout my entire life is like looking down on myself or not seeing like the value that I bring to something. So even if it's something I want to do, there's been a lot of things that I've like turned down or not done or gone after or whatever for reasons like that. And Cal says I still do that. Yeah, I mean, it's still a struggle that I go through. So yeah, I really relate to Asahi on that kind of level. So that's why I chose him. And as far as an actual character goes, my only problem with him, in the terms of Haikyuu itself, is I don't feel like he gets as much shine as Hinata or Kageyama or Tanaka or Nishinoya. There's a lot of other characters that the show focuses on. I don't feel like he gets that much shine, but I still feel like he's a really good character, and he's one of the anchors of Karasuno. I feel like he's an A tier character. What do you think, Gael?
I'm down to put him in A because I like him more than Aizawa.
I do too, personally, actually. Cool.
Do you want to shout out your pick that you almost did, because he's worth mentioning, Tanaka?
Oh yeah. So yeah, very close second. The other character that I was debating on putting in A tier was Tanaka, just because I love his spirit and his fire and his personality. He's hilarious. He has a really great chemistry with everybody. He's got an S tier personality, but he also goes through a lot of growth and stuff, and so I think Tanaka is a fantastic character. Plus his older sister's really hot, so he gets points for that too. His older sister kind of a bae though, so he definitely gets points for that. But yeah, I decided to go with Asahi over Tanaka, but both are fantastic characters. So for Vinland Saga, we both chose Askachad.
Yeah, we agreed on this one.
Yeah, Gael, if you can take this one if you want.
I mean, quick shout out to Thorkel for being a badass, but in terms of actual
Thorkel was second place for sure.
Yeah, but in terms of how well written the character is, and we both thought that Thorfinn is good, but he's a little too edgy for us before the time skip, so...
Mm-hmm.
But Askeladd, on the other hand, phenomenal character. He's one of my favorite antagonists of all time, because he has... One of the things that Askeladd has that not many villains have that I really like is where their strength doesn't come from their body or abilities, it comes from the mind, and in my opinion, those type of villains are just, a lot more engaging to the audience, because... the protagonist can't just power up to beat the big bad. It doesn't work like that. In this case, if the protagonist wants to beat the bad guy, and it's way more intimidating this way, where they're thinking ahead. They're not just gonna do some dumb shit and screw up or whatever. It's not gonna end in a brawl. It's gonna be there are tactics in this, and you need to make sure that you can actually outsmart the other person, and they're not gonna make it that easy either. So for me, at least, that is so much more engaging. I also just think that his overall story arc, and even just his character himself, he's a fairly laid back guy for what he does, and I think he had
a good backstory too. When you get to see how he was raised and everything like that. I don't want to give too much away for spoilers, because Askeladd's character makes so much of the first season. But yeah, I mean. He's everything that you want in not just an antagonist, but in a character. He's very well developed. You can see him change throughout the first season. You get to know where he came from, why he acts the way that he does. Plus his actual personality, his cunning, his deception, his ability to manipulate people, all that stuff. He's fantastic.
Yep.
S-tier?
He's an S for me.
S tier, 100%. For sure. Alright, this one's all you.
Favorite character from Seven Deadly Sins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, it's Bon. I don't really think I need to do too much explaining here, because I know he's your second favorite character.
Yes.
Bon is just freaking amazing. Not only, aesthetically do I think he's the coolest looking guy in The Sins, but on top of that, I just,
He's kind of daddy, though, right?
Okay, though. But, I think most characters thrive in Seven Deadly Sins, in terms of how good they are. I personally think that Seven Deadly Sins goes off of the characters, like the plot of Seven Deadly Sins.
Just who the hell do you think
But,
I am?
like, Bond himself and, like, all the characters, they're all great, and Bond is just my personal favorite. He's a badass, he's awesome, and his backstory is truly heartbreaking. So
100%. Swags, I'm so sorry I didn't have my alert box above the screen capture, so that didn't pop up on screen, but thank you so much for the sub, bro. I appreciate you. 11 months of support, that's my guy. Thank you so much, Swags. Yeah, but I mean, Bond, like, S tier character, right? Like,
yep.
Bond's fucking legit. I'm gonna skip over Darkness real quick, just because we're already on the Seven Deadly Sins train, so fuck it. My favorite character from Seven Deadly Sins is Escanor. And, you know, like the bandana, thanks, bro. Appreciate you. So many different reasons. One, like, his character development and everything. Like, he has a good backstory, his relationship with Merlin, like, all that stuff. But also, like, he's the epitome of badassness. I love his personality, how it flips from day to night. But, like, so many, like, S-tier moments. Like, his battle with Estarossa, his fight with Meliodas, which was much better in the manga than the anime. Go read the manga version of his fight with Meliodas. It's so much better. And just so many other things, but it's just like Escanor is just the epitome of being like a Chad, and like I love that line in his fight with Estarossa because like everyone else, you know, can't move because they're afraid of him, and that's like his ability. And Escanor's the only one that can still like, you know, move and fight, and he's all like, "How are you not affected by my ability?" And Escanor's like, "Why would I be afraid of somebody so far beneath me?" And I'm just like, oh my god, dude. Like, he's cocky, and he's just, like, so cool. He's a badass. Like, his abilities are awesome. Also, he's the lion, sin, and lions are my favorite animal. His powers are, like, heat and fire based, because he's the sun. Fire's always been, like, my favorite, like, elemental, you know, kind of, like, ability in anime. So, like, for me personally, Escanor just, like, he ticks all of the boxes. He's just so fucking cool. Like, I don't see how you could not love Escanor. I also think S-tier character. I think Escanor and Bond, out of the Seven Deadly Sins, I think they're both S-tier characters.
I agree with that, and I agree with Rain too, where he says basically what every weeb wishes they were. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, bro, you know how cool it would be if I could like actually back up what Escanor says myself, and like I could say it. Oh my god.
Right, for sure, dude. Like, you're staring somebody down that literally like is stronger than everyone around you, but you're like, why the hell would I be afraid of you when you're so far beneath me? Like, to have that level of, like, he's the lion son of pride, so, like, you know what I mean? It's just, that shit's so fire. I love that line. That'll stick with me forever. I love that. Alright, so next character who might also be making an appearance on next week's list. I won't tell you guys what that is yet, but just, you know, look forward to next week's list as well.
Figure it out,
yeah. Might be making an appearance on that list too, but we have mine and Gael both agreed our favorite character from Konosuba is Darkness. And I'll let you take this one away, Gael.
I mean, she's my spirit animal, you know. She's like if I were a girl, I would literally be doing what Darkness does, like trying to get degraded by like pressing my tits into the ground. I would so do that.
I can't. It's too
funny.
funny.
I rest my case. There's not much else to say except I just like Darkness hits different, you know.
I mean, like, she is kind of the complete package. Like, not only is she attractive, but she's also funny. She has a lot of, like, good character moments and stuff. Like, Darkness is just, you know, she kind of like Escanor, like I said, she just ticks all the boxes. Like, there's something about her character I think everyone can at least, like, you know, laugh at and appreciate. Oh, fuck. That was really funny, Gael.
I put her in
you actually had me tear up there a little bit. That was hilarious. What tier do you think she needs to go in?
A. She's like not deep enough to go in ass.
Right.
But like she's so enjoyable.
Right. She is really like fun. Like, every scene that she's in is definitely better because she's in it. We might need to adjust this later because I'm looking at all the other characters on this list. I'm like, I don't know, is she up there with some of these other guys? But we can tentatively put her in A for now, and if we need to rework it later, we can do that. Yo, what up, some guy? What up, Tech? Welcome in, boys. How we living? Time for another terrible tier list. Yo, this is also half Gael's tier list, so I know you enjoy shitting on me, but you can't bring down the homie Gael like that.
Yes, I'll let you know when it's exclusive Lance pick so you can shit on it.
Appreciate the support, Gael. Thank you, bro. You always got my you always got my back. I know I can trust you. Yep, you're right there. Fuck. All right. So next, Gael and I both agreed on this one, and it is Garo from One Punch Man. And Garo, I'm just gonna, right there where he belongs. Garo is a definite S tier character, and I would say, the most fleshed out, the most developed, the most like relatable, but also like badass character in all of One Punch Man. As much as Saitama is the main character, you get to see so much more like growth and development from Garo because like Saitama's already, he's already the strongest. Saitama doesn't really develop in that sense. Garo does, and he has very clear motivations, a backstory that's, goes into that, drives everything that he does, and you get to slowly see him, progressively fight stronger and stronger people, develop his skills, go through the monsterification, all of that stuff, but also, like, he wants to be a villain, and he does a good job of that, but it's also that, like, he's not totally evil, and you can see that with the way that he treats, like, some of the children and some of the other characters, like, in the show, like, protects them and everything. Like, he still has a good side to him. And really, his entire character arc is, I don't really think Garo's even evil. He's just trying to prove a point. And is he doing that the best way possible? Probably not, but, like, he's still an absolutely amazing character. Definitely deserving of S tier, and I think like most people would probably agree, he's definitely the best character in One Punch Man as a whole.
Yeah, everything you said, and then on top of that, he's my workout inspiration, so
Gael
right there.
Gael got to get that 10-pack going.
Honestly, bro, and his thighs, bro. Have you seen that shit?
And his thighs, bro. I love you, Gael. You make me laugh. Yes, all right, sir. But yeah, so Garo definitely an S tier character, so that's where he belongs. We had Gintama as a series like on our last tier list, so we decided that we should just like include Gintama in this series. Full disclosure, neither me nor Gael are super in love with this series or really like that deep or like knowledgeable on it like as a whole. But we both decided to pick, Gentoki. From what I know of the series, he's my favorite character from the little bit that I have experienced, and Gael basically said the same thing. But yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't really seen that much of Gintama to be able to, like, judge him super accurately. Who's in B tier? That's Aizawa from My Hero Academia. Gael,
Yeah.
where do you think Gintoki belongs, or if there's anything else you want to say about him, go for it.
For me, if you find Gintoki funny, I can see him being an S tier character because when it gets serious, Gintoki actually has a very deep backstory. But my problem, and this is not just a problem with Gintoki, but it's a problem with all of Gintama for me, is it doesn't spend enough time being serious. So if you don't find it funny, it's like a 80% waste of time and then 20% actually really good stuff. That's the same with Gintoki's character. I think when he gets serious and like you get his backstory, super great character, deserving of S tier, but he spends so much time being funny, and I just personally don't find him funny, so he's kind of,
right.
I'd put him in either B or C, and...
Yeah, I mean, And I'd kind of echo that. It's like if the comedy aspect of Gintama is like your thing and that's what you're there for, then yeah, I can understand how there's that like segment of, you know, the fan base that just loves the shit out of the show. If the comedy is not what you're there for, then it's honestly probably just not for you. To me, he's probably a C tier character, I'm not gonna lie. If you want to put him in B tier, I'm okay with that. But yeah, those would be my two options.
Let's do C just because I don't think we're going to have many C's.
Yeah, that's probably true as well. Boom! Alright then. Moving on, the next character on the list, both Gael and I agreed, Gogeta from Dragon Ball Z, I guess, well, in Super. But yeah, Gogeta has always been my favorite character. I guess I'll go pull them out. I have a Gogeta figure that I love. This is which is weird because he never even went Super Saiyan in the Broly movie, but this is Super Saiyan Gogeta, like, designed from the Broly movie. You can tell because it's yellow and not orange. If it was orange, it would have been from Fusion Reborn. But yeah, that's the remodeled version of Gogeta. But yeah, he's just always been my favorite character. He's the best of both worlds. He's got, you know, he's a mix of Goku and Vegeta's personality, so he's got that little bit of, like, edge, that cockiness, but he's also just ridiculously powerful and badass, you know. Even Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta from, you know, GT, you know, still super funny and badass, and is, like, so powerful he just kind of, like, wants to punk on you for a minute, you know, before he kicks your ass. Like, I love the design. I love everything about Gogeta, and it's the best of both worlds. Yeah. So, anything else you want to say, Gael?
I think you hammered home most of the points. Just super likable character, fun to watch on screen. Good stuff.
Broly would have been both of our well, actually, I was going back and forth between just Vegeta and Broly is my second favorite character. Gael really likes Broly, so that would have been his second choice. But yeah. Now as far as where to put him, so like the thing about Gogeta is he doesn't really have much like character because he's not really on like screen a lot, you know what I mean? He's not like a character that goes through like development and stuff like that. He's kind of just, let's be honest, he's a transformation, and he's kind of just a MacGuffin to be really cool and powerful and badass for a minute. I would feel disingenuous putting him in, you know, like S tier with all these other characters that have like backstories and growth and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because he's basically just a technique. You know what I mean? Like
I wouldn't put him in S.
No. I still think B or A though.
Me too. I'm tempted to put him in A because he's like super cool and all that, but like I'm thinking about characters in the future right now that would go in A tier that are just more developed than him. So I would actually vote B, surprisingly.
Yeah, that works for me too. But yeah, like you can see, and again, like I know no one cares but me, but you can see how like this image is from the Fusion Reborn movie, and his vest is black and orange because that's just the color scheme that they gave him. This is black and yellow, which is what Gotenks used, and basically what they use for every fusion going forward, like after this movie. But anyway, semantics. Yo, what up, Conquest? Alright, next we have Guts from Berserk, and I don't really think, you know, I don't need to keep people in suspense about that one. Guts is definitely an S tier character.
Yeah, easy. Like, case closed.
Do you want to go on the rant on this one?
Oh, is it my guy next? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just the one that talked mostly about Gogeta, so I figured I'd give you this one.
Okay, sure. For Guts, I mean, I think he's just, like, the best written character out of all of them, just from, like, backstory to just, like, badassery. He's a full package of both. He isn't just a badass character, but on top of that, he's also, like, actually deep Like, that's a problem with a lot of characters that people find really, really cool, is they are super cool, but, like, that's all there is to them. Guts is both. Like, he's super badass, but he also has, like, this incredible story. And he also is, like, one of the more human characters, I would say, out of any I've met. He's definitely not perfect. He has, like, a very violent side to him. There's, like, if you remember reading the Black Swordsman arc, which is prior to the Golden Age, it's like the chapter like 0A, 0B, and all those
Oh,
chapters.
okay, gotcha.
Like,
Right.
yeah, so during that arc, you like see he's actually a pretty mean guy. Like, he talks about how much he hates people when they're weak, and he's like, he's like an ass to Puck and all that stuff.
He's
And
very like
obviously,
unlikable in that first arc. Yeah, honestly.
yeah, and like obviously it all makes sense later, but like it just shows you how like imperfect he is, and like I think that really shows how human that character is, even despite it being a very fictional world. So,
right.
Yes.
No, for sure. And then like I won't go into detail, especially because a lot of the scenes are very like, you know, graphic and everything, but there's also a lot of like there's a scene of something that happens to him as a kid that's very traumatic for him, obviously, and he, you know, repressed that for a lot of his life, and then later as he is an adult in that scene, or that, you know, trauma kind of resurfaces itself at like the worst time possible, and you get to see how like he reacts to stuff like that and like deals with it. It's very human, it's very relatable, it's very he's just very well written from like a negative and a positive, you know, aspect. Yeah, Guts is easy S tier. Not even, no debate. Okay, this is your character next, Hiei from Yu Hakusho.
Oh yeah, so Lance chose someone else. It was very close, obviously. His number one is my number two, and I'm pretty sure mine
Vice versa, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Hiei, super awesome. I think Yu Hakusho characters are just like incredibly well written. But on top of that, Hiei is also just like super fucking cool, dude. Like, I think everyone remembers the scene in the Dark Tournament when he like, you know, he does the thing, uses the move.
It's so cool.
I know. He just like literally out of nowhere, he just goes boom, and this person is like just disintegrates.
Seriously,
like
dude.
It was absolutely one of the coolest moments in all of anime.
Literally leaves him as a smudge on a wall. Like,
yeah, I feel like this is going to be, we're going to make this tier bloated, but I honestly think that Hiei is an S tier character.
Right?
Yeah, like he's just so freaking cool.
He really is. And a lot of people, like, you could say that he's just, like, the super edgy, moody, rude, like, you know, bad boy, whatever. He's just, like, all edge, emo, whatever. He does actually go through a lot of development, too. Like, he starts out as a guy that hates humans and, like, hates everyone weaker than him and, like, you know, doesn't respect anybody, only fights for himself and his own power, but, like, slowly but surely, and granted, it is slowly, it takes a long time to get there, but by the end of the series, Hiei goes from, like, hating literally everyone else to actually, like, respecting them and looking at them as, like, equals and actually, like, developing a relationship with these people. So, like, he does have, like, a lot of, like, development and growth as a character. So, he's not just edgy and cool, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I also think S tier, for sure. Your opinion, Gael, I'm trying to think of how to do this. Since we were already talking about Yu Hakusho, do we want to just go to the next character in that series, or should we just break it up and just keep going in name order? Because I guess in my head, since we're already talking about the series, if there's two characters in that series,
Yeah,
it just makes sense to me to just go to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. We can talk about Yusuke.
Cool. So, my favorite character from Yu Yu Hakusho is Yusuke Urameshi, the main character. I could go on a very, very, very long rant about why I love Yusuke so much, which I'll spare you guys. But I will just say, like, out of every character in every series that I've ever watched, Yusuke is, like, top 3 all-time, period, hands down for me. He's one of the most well-written, fleshed out, likable, like, relatable, just developed characters that I've ever come across. Everything that he says and does, his motivations, where he comes from, everything is all very clearly defined, very, very well portrayed. The voice acting in the anime, or, you know, even in the manga, just everything about Yusuke hits home, and his character journey and his character arc is like one of my favorites just of all time. Like, to me, Yusuke is like top 3 characters in like anime period. I love him that much. So yeah, easy S tier. One other disclaimer that I'm gonna say is I know way too many people that haven't watched Yu Yu Hakusho. Go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. I know it's old, the animation style might not hold up compared to, like, you know, the Demon Slayers of today or whatever, but, like, it's so good and has so much value. Like, go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. You will not regret it. I can promise you that.
Also on Crunchyroll now, so which I know is a lot of people's main platform. It's there.
Yeah, dude, go watch the entire thing. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. Kenshin Himura from Rurouni Kenshin is the next character on the list. Which I think both of us agreed are our favorite character from Rurouni Kenshin, yes?
Yep.
So, I'll go and then Gael can wrap this one up. Kenshin is just, like, to be fair, there's not, like, that many characters in Rurouni Kenshin. But, like, Kenshin definitely shines above all of the characters that are there. He's... like, when he's being his usual self, he's funny, and he's charming, and he's witty, and, you know, a very caring, very nice, you know, your typical, like, good guy, does everything, you know, for the right reasons, just wants to save people's lives, all that stuff. But he also has this other side to him, which is this dark, evil, like, past that he hates and regrets, you know, side of him that he's trying so hard to, like, correct and overcome and repent for. And there are multiple times throughout the series that side comes out and he has to deal with it, and sometimes it takes over and he'll kill someone he doesn't mean to, or he'll, you know, act in a way that he doesn't like. And so the entire series is this internal, like, struggle with this, essentially this inner demon, this dark side of him that he desperately wants to overcome and get rid of, and he doesn't want to be that person anymore, the person that he used to be. So it's a very, like, it's a very well done character arc, and, you know, that's the main point of the series, is Kenshin, you know, who he is as a character and the kind of person that he wants to be. And it's very, very well done. There's a lot of good side characters, there's a lot of good action. It's a very, very enjoyable series. Kind of the same thing with Yu Hakusho. I would say if you haven't watched Rurouni Kenshin, you really should.
Yeah. I'd say Kenshin is a pretty, just overall solid, I guess is one of the best adjectives I could use to describe the quality of him. In terms of, like, you said, like, all the other main points about, like, who he is, so that's all good. But in terms of where to rank him, this is weird, because, like, I do like him enough to put him in S, but I'm also looking at the characters in S right now, and I'm like,
Right.
whoa, I don't know if I like him as much as them.
Right.
So I'm gonna vote for A.
I would actually agree with that. As much as I love Kenshin, and I do really love Kenshin, yeah, I don't know, like, all the other characters in S tier just have that little extra layer, that little extra something that makes them S tier, and I don't know if Kenshin has that, but he's still a very well-rounded, very good character. So I think A tier works perfectly. Gael, have fun with this one. Hisoka's next on the list.
Yeah!
This is Gael's favorite character from Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, no, he's a goated character now. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's so sus and stuff like that, and yeah, he is sus, but that's not the
He's a little
important
sus.
part. Oh, he's a little suspicious, but that's not the important part. The important part is the fact that, for me at least, Hisoka does such a perfect job of enhancing the audience's experience, because Hisoka is one of the only characters, not just in Hunter x Hunter, but in, like, shows in general, that, like, when he is on screen, he, like, demands the audience's attention, because he's, like, such a wild card that you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And to me, that is one of the most engaging characters I could, like, ever see. Like, for me at least, he's kind of like the Joker, and it's kind of ironic that they're both clowns, because they both have the sense where they're not insane enough where you know that they're going to, like... He's not insane enough where you know he's just going to, like, go ape shit on the spot in front of people, but at the same time, he's not sane enough to know that he's just not going to do anything. So, I do love my sus character's reign, I'm not gonna lie. I really do love my sus character.
Read what Cal just wrote.
Man, oh my god. I mean, that's low-key facts, though. But, like, that's not the point, though. The point is that, like, he enhances your watching experience so much because he makes you so engaged in the series, and to me, that is just, like... Yeah, man, like, he's a weirdo, but, like, phenomenal character. So, for me, it's an easy S tier.
Oh, man.
Besides,
Holy
like, what
shit.
he does in Heaven's Arena, because I'll admit, what he did in Heaven's Arena, bro, the first time I watched that scene was with my mom, and we were like, what the
Oh my
fuck
god!
was that?
Wow, yeah. Watching any scene of Hisoka with your mother is probably not the play, my guy. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, nah, that wasn't good. I mean, she loves Hunter x Hunter,
You
but,
can
like,
get your
we were
computer
both like,
taken away from
whoa.
you again, Gael. Damn.
Bro, she gave up on me after I turned 18.
I'm sorry, I had to. That meme will never die. I'll never forget that.
That was one of the funniest nights.
I'll literally never forget that. Oh fuck. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of echo everything Gail said, and then basically just like, I don't know. You take the good with the bad with some characters. Like, not a lot of characters are gonna have like a personality trait or a quirk or whatever that you don't like, but I think all of Hisoka's other qualities outside of those make up for his bad ones, and especially like there's just so many like S tier moments with Hisoka. Like even the first time you meet him in like the forest and everything, and you just like see him go berserk on these characters. Like I don't know. You have the scene where he's fighting what's his name with the coins, one of the attendants for the Zoldyck family. Like that fight was so OP.
Oh, against the butler guy?
Yeah, against the butler with the coins, yeah, in the forest. That shit was so good. Like, even in Great Island, like, you know, his chemistry, seeing him work with everybody in the volleyball game and all that stuff. Like, he's just a really fucking cool character, but he is, like, also kind of, like, sick and twisted and evil. So I like your comparison to the Joker, obviously, because they both have, like, a, you know, like a clown thing going for them. But, yeah. Hisoka, he is a great character despite his, you know, what we'll call quirks. So
also, abs goals. Like, have you seen that man shirtless? My guy, dude, I'm trying
daddy
to get
goals though, right? Like,
I mean, I'd never call Hisoka daddy for obvious reasons, but like, but those abs though.
you guys are gonna break me. Holy shit. Oh, God. Okay.
So now
Fuck.
for your favorite Hunter x Hunter character.
Ooh. Oh man, that was funny. I have to recompose. Okay. My favorite character from Hunter x Hunter personally is Isaac Netero. Very obvious reasons, I think. Like, he's a character that doesn't get a lot of screen time, but I think all the screen time that he does get is very, like, S tier, I guess, is what I'm gonna say. From the first time that you meet him, like, when they're on the blimp and he has, like, the training game, the ball game with Killua, and you don't really know who he is. Like, I don't even think at that point that we know that he's that he's the chairman of the Hunter Association, but, like, you just get to see how badass he is there, because you know how badass Killua is, and he's, like, nowhere near on, Isaac's level at that point. And then everything after that, like, and specifically, I guess, like, what everyone mostly knows him for is his fight against Meruem, which was also just awesome. But he also, like, he has that famous line at the end of that fight, which I will always remember, which is like, I'm going to be paraphrasing because I don't remember it word for word, but it's like, never underestimate humanity's, like, will to survive, which basically means, like, you can be a chimera ant or you can be whatever else and you can think you're superior, but humanity will do literally anything it takes to survive, no matter what that is. Like, never count humans out. And that's so real and that's so true. Like, I love that line in that moment. But mostly is also just like, he's just super badass. I just really love Netero. And Gale also already took Hisoka, who was probably my other choice.
No, that's funny that you bring up that line because that's how I got my dad to first watch Hunter x Hunter because he's not really into anime, but
Right.
one of his favorite movies of all time is Jurassic Park, and so we played and Jeff Goldblum says like life always finds a way, and I played the Netero scene. I was like, don't tell me that's not as cool. Don't tell me that he didn't do that better right now. You can't say that. It's not there. And then after they started watching Hunter x Hunter, that was pretty cool.
And like, technically, it took a little bit, and there was residual damage, but like, Netero won that fight. In all honesty, like, he got the upper hand at the end of the day. So
one of my favorite lines was when Meruem says at the end of that fight, "You've had me in checkmate since the beginning." I was like, "God damn right he did!" Oh
I know,
God.
dude.
That was
Oh,
so
God.
sick.
That entire fight in that sequence is just like, it's so badass. And I also like, I love his backstory where it shows him like going into the mountains and just training and how he did like the punches like every day for like 50 years straight or whatever it was, and just like mastered like every form of martial arts and everything. Like, Netero's, he's just straight up a badass, dude. Like, let's not get it twisted. There's a reason he was the Hunter chairman. Yeah, but as far as where to actually put him, I actually think it's probably more fair to put him in A tier. Just because he didn't get that much screen time or like development and everything, you know what I mean, as much as these other characters did. So I think it's based on everyone else in S tier. I think it's probably better to just put him in A tier.
Yeah, although I will say the only argument I would put out for him being S, and I'm okay with us doing A, but just because I want to talk about Hunter x Hunter more because it's awesome.
And it's coming back.
And it's coming back, baby. Nah, but with Netero, especially since we talked about Hisoka, I like the juxtaposition that Togashi makes. I've talked about before how Hunter x Hunter is a world of gray. No one is like strictly good and no one is strictly evil. Everyone's complex enough where they're a bit of both. Like, if you look at your protagonist, Killua's an assassin, Gon rages, and like Kurapika obviously gets a little wild when he's trying to get those eyes back. And then side of stuff, Hisoka's like a pretty terrible dude, and so is Crollo, but like they have their reasons and stuff. I'm not trying to say that justifies it, but it's more gray than it's like straight black. And I really like Netero existing because he makes Hisoka more of a gray character than a like straight black or white character, because if you really think about it, Netero and Hisoka are more or less the same. Because if you think about it, they both sacrifice everything to have a good fight. Hisoka's whole point is like he's attracted to people who are strong and he'll do anything to fight them. Like, he literally joins the troop to fight Crollo. Netero is a lot of the same, where he literally chooses to fight the king 1v1 when in actuality it's probably a smarter idea to like bring most of the Zodiacs with him to like help fight
exactly.
Ants. But he didn't do that. But the thing is, even though they have the same motives, why are we seeing Hisoka as a villain and Netero as a good guy, but they're not? So I think he just adds more complexity and more of a three-dimensional world to Hunter x Hunter.
I think that is actually a really good point. I've never thought about it from that aspect before, but that does actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm still okay with A tier, especially because I know S tier is going to be bloated, but...
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of characters in S tier, and yeah, I mean, as much as I do love Netero and everything you said, and just like, you know, his fight scenes and his raw badasseries, yeah, he doesn't get as much screen time or you know, character development and stuff as, you know, a lot of the other characters on this list do. So I think putting him in A tier is honestly only fair.
Yep. All right, what do we got?
So next we got Hyakimaru from Dororo.
Hyakimaru from Dororo.
I'll take this one.
Okay.
So...
Both of our favorites, by the way.
Yes, this is the only character we picked from Dororo, both of our favorites. Hyakimaru is an absolutely fantastic character, and Dororo is as a series, but, like, he's very unique as a character because Dororo as a story is very unique in the way that it sets him up and the journey that he has to go on throughout the story. I guess this isn't anything you won't find out in like the first couple episodes. just like a basic synopsis of Dororo, because I know a lot of people haven't watched it. Hyakimaru is the son of a ruler of a kingdom, and that particular kingdom is going through a lot of like hardships. It used to be very prosperous and beautiful and bountiful, and it's recently going through a bunch of droughts, and there's no crops, the water's drying up, the citizens are dying. It's in the, it's almost like a revolution kind of thing is about to happen. And so the leader of this country basically decides, like, he offers up his firstborn child to a group of demons and devils in order to make his country more prosperous. And so Hyakimaru doesn't die due to that, but he does get literally everything stripped from him. And when I say everything, I mean everything. He loses his eyes, he loses his tongue, his nose, his skin, his literal ability to feel. He has no senses, no abilities, no anything. He's basically just a puddle of flesh and bones when he's born because of the deal that his father made with these demons. And so his entire journey is basically, through backstory and whatever, he learns how to fight, and he grows up and he somehow survives being born this way, and he learns how to fight, and he meets a group of a couple characters that he can rely and depend on. But basically his journey is going and killing these demons that all represent one of the things that were taken from him. So like he'll kill one of these demons and he'll get his sight back, and then he'll get his skin back when he kills another one, so on and so forth, until he's like a whole person again. And so that's like a really, really, really interesting like plot line and structure that I've never seen done anywhere else. And so that was like very captivating and interesting to me. But also, like, as a character, it's very cool to see the way that he reacts with everyone else and reacts with the world and everything, because he's never had sight or sound or anything before, so he doesn't know how to interact or deal with people or emotions and stuff like that. And so it's very, very interesting and very, very well done. And like what really sells it for me and makes it kind of like realistic is his reactions to getting some of these senses back. Because, like, for example, he's never had skin, so he's never had the sensation of, like, touch before. So you see him kill this demon, and then his body will change, and you'll literally see his skin regrow over him, and you kind of get to see him react to being able to feel things for the first time, even though he's in his late teens at this point. And, some of the portrayals of when he gets some of these senses and everything back are very haunting, almost. Like, I kind of feel like that's exactly the way that a person would act if they were just exposed to, like, a new sense, and it's not always a good thing, the way that you react to this. It can be very overwhelming or startling or whatever. Yeah, it's just, it's a very dark, a very bloody, kind of series. It's definitely a seinen. But also just, like, really cool and really well done, very unique. Not anything I've really ever seen done any other kind of way. And I really like the way that it's, like, written and his, like, character journey and everything like that.
Yeah, you hit most of the points. The only thing I'll say is I'll just quickly highlight something you mentioned about how just, like, the sheer difficulty of writing a character who doesn't have senses and making them, like, making the audience invested in them is a feat that almost no one can actually pull off, because the point of being the audience is for you to find connection with a character or find them to be likable, or just any aspect would get you to be invested in them. Hyakimaru starts off as a character who doesn't have any of that, and the fact that he's written in such a way for you to still care about him and for you to be rooting for him as he gets back every single, like, sense and every single part of his body, it's something that, like, I think speaks level to the quality of writing that the series provides with him. It's very difficult to do. Like, only other time that I've, like, seen something like this pulled off is in a book that I read, like, back in, like, middle school or whatever. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember like that the only way that they were able to depict it was a character with like some disability or deformity, and the only way they were able to actually like convey what this character was thinking was by giving him a chapter that comes from his perspective. And the fact that this guy isn't just deformed, but he like has no senses, and it's not from his perspective, it's from a third person perspective, and he's still able to like captivate the audience is just a feat that I think almost no one else could pull off.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Yakimaru is like an A tier character, I'll be honest.
I'd low-key put him in S, but I'm okay with A because I know we're gonna have a lot of S tier characters.
Yeah. And yeah, one of the only things I think that would keep me from putting an A, because like, yeah, or I mean from putting him in S, is just like because he doesn't have a lot of his senses for a good majority of the series, obviously. It is kind of hard to relate to him. His traveling companion, whose name is Dororo, that's where the name of the series comes from, is he's basically like the mouthpiece and for a lot of points like the perspective piece of the series. Because Yakimaru doesn't have senses, he can't talk or explain or, you know, react to a lot of things literally just because he's physically unable to. And so there's, even though he's always the one that's there, that's like doing the badass shit, you don't get a lot of like, you know, cool one-liners or, you know, stuff like that from him literally just because he can't like talk or see, you know, for like a lot of the series. So
I agree. And just quickly to contextualize something I said that both you and Rain brought up, when I say relate to a character, I don't necessarily, I know that Hyakimaru is like not a character that you actually relate to, but I'm talking about like for an audience member to become captivated in a character or invested in them, there needs to be some form of humanity in them that they can like
yes,
like know that they have too, which is what makes us like characters in the first place. And the fact that Hyakimaru, who's a character who's been stripped of his humanity, can still portray that and have you connect with it, that's a feat.
yes,
It's just a feat.
yes. Yakimaru is great, and kind of like with Yu Hakusho, I would say like there's definitely not enough people that have watched Dororo. It's one season. The entire story is one season. There's not going to be a second season that comes out. It's 25 episodes. Watch it. Super, 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 super good. Super, super good. Definitely, like I said, super unique. Not really something you're going to see in a lot of other places. The like way that the story develops and everything. Super, super cool. All right, Gael. Ishiki, Food Wars.
Oh, here we go.
This is Gail's favorite character from Food Wars.
Yeah. Alright, listen. So Ishiki's my favorite character in Food Wars. But like, alright. Listen why he's S tier. Let me explain. Let me explain why this guy's S tier.
It's
Right,
because
so
of the naked apron.
Okay, no, that's just why I like him so much. Because there's plenty of S tier Food Wars characters out there. But the reason why this guy is different, yeah, it's true. I also happen to cook butt ass naked with an apron on, but that's not the point here.
Picks or it didn't happen. Picks or it didn't happen.
Nah. But in this case, now here's the thing. I think Ishiki elevates Food Wars as a story. I know he's not in too many scenes, but of the scenes that he's in, he either elevates Food Wars as a series, or B, he's just being a super kind and considerate character, both of which are qualities I really appreciate. And so, in terms of how he elevates Food Wars, I mean, your first interaction with him is in Polar Star dorm the first time Soma gets there, but like, even from their first Shokugeki, and I guess it's not like a legitimate one, but it's technically like Soma's first in the series. Like, that alone right there elevates the quality of the series by going from just like Soma being in a cooking school that he knows is elite, but like, only reason why the audience knows it's elite is because people say it. We haven't actually seen it. I think Ishiki like manifests the quality of the school through that first battle. And the fact that not only is that a great scene, where Soma is just blown away because remember at this point in the story we have not seen anyone that can compare to Soma yet. So the fact that Soma is like holy shit, like he had an out of body experience when he tastes Ishiki's disc. Then after that, it gets even better because then when you actually see him get serious, that it's like the second to last episode of season 3 when he's fighting against that the like dude with the butt chin or whatever and the long blonde hair. When you see him fight that guy and you realize that he gets serious, Soma even has a moment where he's like, "Wow, he was messing around back then." I think that just adds on to the fact that Ishiki wasn't.
That
even
was like a
taking
test for Soma, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't even taking him seriously, and the fact that he was able to blow him away really shows just like I think it just really solidifies the quality of the school, and Totsuki is like what holds Food Wars together. Like it's that school environment that like it's all the characters in it. It's what makes that series so great. And so and then every other moment besides those two, and by the way, that moment I just mentioned is my favorite moment in Food Wars, where he actually gets pissed, and then you see him like cut a fish in one slice, and then after that, like it's literally like a sword cut in one piece, where it takes a few seconds before like the person falls. It takes a few seconds before the fish starts bleeding. Like even then, that was like easily one of my favorite moments of all time. Probably in all of Food Wars, the only other moment I can think of is when Soma challenges Shinomiya to a Shokugeki for Megumi. But besides that, that's like easily my favorite moment.
That's that's a top tier moment too, for sure.
Yeah, and then on top of that, there's also just like every other moment that he's in, I feel like he's just a super kind and considerate character that I find very likable. Like obviously being kind doesn't necessarily make you likable in anime, but the fact that you see the amount of care he has in his fellow dorm mates, like when they're doing the Moonlight Festival and like a couple other occasions, he always has a smile on his face and all that stuff. It's super great to see, and I think that it really makes the audience enjoy him even more, and so I am very proud to advocate for Ishiki to be an S tier. And as I said earlier, cooking butt-ass naked with an apron, you know...
Naked apron hits different, bro. Naked apron hits different. Thank you for the lurk, Swags. I appreciate you. Where do you want to place on the list?
S.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Boom. There we go.
Want to talk about your favorite Food Wars character now?
So my favorite Food War character from Food Wars is Ryo Kurokiba.
Kurokiba Ryo.
Yeah. I don't have, my reasons for liking him probably aren't as deep as Gail's reasons for liking Ishiki, but like if you've noticed with some of the other characters on this list, I really like characters that have like a duality to them. And so I really like how usually he's super like, quiet and laid back and just kind of like chill or whatever, but then like when he's getting ready to cook or when he finds like an opponent that he's like excited to go, he puts on his bandana, kind of like how Zoro does. And then his personality totally shifts and he becomes this like aggressive like demon, in the kitchen that just has this like this really cool like darkness, this malice, this like, I don't know, this aggressive way that he cooks that I think is like super cool. He's on it. He's on the Elite 10 Council, so he's one of the like technically best chefs, and he always gets like really far in the tournaments. I like his personality. He's also Alice's like attendant. Alice is my favorite waifu in the series. But he's also kind of like a voice of reason for her, because there's a lot of things that Alice will do that aren't like necessarily ethical or whatever, and sometimes he kind of like tries to reel her in or like calm her down or whatever, and so I also like appreciate his character for that. I think honestly he's just a really badass, really likable character, to be honest. I don't know if I necessarily think that he's S tier, but I'd put him in A.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I also think he's like the most aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, his character design is also just like really cool with like the red flame bandana and like the black bangs that like hang down in front of his face and everything. Like, yeah, he's got a really like, I guess edgy, but yeah, he's got a really cool character design. All right, so yeah, I'm okay with putting him in A tier. Itachi Uchiha from Naruto is
Oh,
next.
this is me. Okay, so Lance and I, again, different opinions on who our favorite is for Naruto, although Lance's pick is in my top three, my pick is in Lance's top three, so it's all good. Um, for me, my favorite character is Itachi. So I too am an older brother. Now, I'm not implying that I'd like kill my family for him. That's not, we're not going there. But that's not the point. The point is that I can relate with the aspect of sacrificing something without other people knowing for someone else. And even if it means blowing my reputation, this is something that I had to deal with 8th grade a lot. And obviously, this is nowhere near the same magnitude as Itachi, because, like, well, that involved people's lives. Mine involved, like, dumb middle school drama. But I had to deal with me taking what people think of me and plunging it into the dirt for the sake of saving someone else. And I know that it's not an easy thing to do, and the fact that Itachi did it on the most extreme level, I think, is very admirable. And then that's outside of the fact that not only was, like, my thing difficult, but for him, that was, like, I mean, for him, if you think of it, it was like, because it was the most extreme, not only did he have to do something so extreme, but he had to do that and hold it for years to himself, and he couldn't tell anyone about it. And having something that you feel horrible about and you can't tell anyone about is one of the most difficult things to do in life, in my opinion. And that's another reason why I just think that's absolutely incredible. And then on top of just like all the ways that I can respect him, there's also the fact that he's just a freaking cool character. I mean, he's got some of the coolest abilities. This is going to be a hot take, but Sasuke versus Itachi is my favorite fight in Naruto, and
It's
top 10
definitely
in
up
all
there.
anime.
I think definitely like top 5 in Naruto for sure. Like that fight's super good.
That's one of my favorite fights in all of it's not my favorite fight in all of anime, but it's up there.
Yeah,
like
right.
it's seriously good, and he's a super awesome, cool character. He I mean, yeah.
He's kind of your prototypical like edgelord looking character, at least with like his design and everything, but even that is done to like peak perfection. Yeah, all I'll really say about Itachi is just like I think his in terms of like backstory and like motivation and everything, I think Itachi's definitely like the most like deep fleshed out like character in the entire series. Everything that he comes across as an antagonist at first, obviously, but that's because that's the way that he wants to be portrayed. And then the deeper that you go into the series, you find out like why he did everything he did, and once you find out those reasons, even though Naruto's like 20 years old, I won't spoil it. But one of the best written characters, maybe even of all time. Like he's definitely up there, but like once you find out why he did what he did and the sacrifice that he had to make, the choice that he had to make, and all of his motivations and his backstory and everything like that, it's hard not to put him, and this is going to sound hyperbolic to some people, but it's really hard to not put Itachi on like the upper echelon of like some of the best characters ever written. I mean, I'm wearing an Itachi shirt right now. Like, I love Itachi. Itachi's amazing. Definitely worthy of S tier, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and also thank you, Cal, for reminding me of the fact that his Genjutsu is super strong. And I do like when this is like the reason why I like the second Spider-Man movie from the new trilogy is I like characters that can kind of make you like not necessarily be fully sure of what exactly is happening. I think antagonists like that are some of the most intimidating and some of the most fun to watch because that like you just have no clue. It's insane.
Right.
And so the fact that Itachi can do that, like I still remember the sequence where they're trying to get to the village in the sand, and they like encounter Itachi, and then Naruto has like Sasuke's head grow out of his stomach. But during that entire sequence before that happens, you don't actually think that he's in a genjutsu, and then you realize that he
Mm-hmm.
is. Especially because prior to that, they're talking about how to avoid getting into his genjutsu, and you think he does it. Then it's not true. It doesn't happen. Like, it turns out he still fell for it and all that. So, like, just characters that are able to do that, I think, are some of the most engaging to the audience.
Oh,
And
for
so
sure.
because of that, yeah, so because of that, easy yes.
I
Easy
also think
yes.
it's really funny because you get to the part in Shippuden, which is like we're over the halfway point of the series at that point, and then you get to like Sasuke and Itachi's fight, and then that ends, and so you assume that's the conclusion of his like story arc as a character. Little do you know, we're that deep into the story, and you're actually only still just scratching the surface of everything that Itachi like actually did and meant to that like series as a whole. Just very, 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 very well written. All right, but yeah, Itachi S tier character, absolutely for sure. My favorite character from Naruto, who I guess I'm also just gonna put an S. Minato Namikaze, Naruto's father, the fourth Hokage. Um, Super likable in every way, like not only personality wise, he's like heroic and strong, and this symbol of coolness and badassery and strength, and basically like the ideal Hokage, the kind of person everyone would look up to. But he also has a really good backstory and the sacrifices that he makes, for the good of the world and everything. The influence that he had on everyone, from being Kakashi and Obito's, sensei. He's Naruto's father. His level of strength and speed, like his skills and techniques, like as a ninja, are also just like top tier. Everyone in the series regards him as one of the most like fearsome opponents. Like characters from other nations in Naruto hear the name Minato and they're like, oh shit, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with this guy. His reputation throughout their entire world is, on another level. Just on top of everything else that he's able to do. And then you have all the cool moments in Shippuden where like Naruto actually gets to meet him, and then he gets resurrected and everything, and how he interacts with Kakashi and Obito and Naruto, and yeah, run on site order exactly. He's just a really, 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 really cool character. I love his design. I love his powers. I love his personality. I love everything about Minato. He's the yellow Flash, bro. Like, what more do you need to say? And I also think that he is an S tier character.
Yeah, epic.
Yee. Okay. Moving on, we have Joseph Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is our favorite character. Me and Gail both agreed on this one, although we both had Dio at second place. Dio
Yeah.
Brando.
I haven't seen JoJo's in a very long time, so I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Yeah, that's fine. Just for frame of reference, how many parts of JoJo's have you seen?
I've seen the first 3.
Okay, so you're the exact same with me. I've only seen the first 3 parts. And I know that a lot of people will probably say like Giorno or Jolene, or because there's like 8 different JoJos now. So I understand that there's a lot of different JoJos that are very likable. I've only seen the first 3 parts. Gail's only seen the first 3 parts, and I think, out of those first 3 parts, I think Joseph is definitely the most likable. His personality is so carefree and goofy and just badass. He's just like silly. Like there's that scene where like to get past those guards he dresses up in drag, you know what I mean? Just like very, very goofy and funny, but also like he develops more throughout the series, and as the stakes keep raising higher and higher, he gets a little more mature, and he starts focusing and taking his training seriously and everything like that. And really develops into like more from more of like a comedic, like street thug kind of character to a more like, you know, well-rounded like hero archetype. But just his creativity and his ingenuity, like some of the ways that he figures out to get out of fights or to beat people or whatever is also like I think very well done. And also just so many memeable moments and everything. Like, yeah, Joseph is, I mean, out of the first 3 parts of JoJo's, he's hands down my favorite character. Caesar's also a really good character. Dio's also a really good character. You know, Jotaro's a good protagonist. Out of the 3, I think it goes, you know, Joseph, then Jotaro, then Jonathan. But yeah, Joseph is way the most likable of those first 3 JoJo's to me personally. I don't even really think it's close. And that's why he's my favorite character from the first 3 parts of JoJo's. As far as where to rank him though, like, and this might not even really be fair to Joseph like as a character, but JoJo's isn't itself like super high on my list. I'd probably put Joseph as an A-tier character.
That's fine.
Think that's fine?
Haven't seen it in a while, so I don't have much of an opinion on that, so whatever works with you.
Cool. Alright. Joseph will go in A-tier then.
You can put this next guy in the tier that he belongs in.
Let's go!
I don't think it comes as much of a surprise to anyone where this dude is going.
Kamina, bro!
Tengen Toppa, Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann. So kind of just like with Yusuke, Kamina is in like my top 3 just like favorite characters like in anime history, period. I love everything about Kamina. A lot of people will say that Simone's the main character of Gurren Lagann, but I really think for... how do I phrase this? For the episodes that Kamina is in, he's definitely the main character. I think most of the series goes through like his perspective from that point, and then it kind of switches to Simone's perspective after that point. But yeah, he's just... there's literally nothing about this character to not like. And I think probably the reason that he resonates with me so much is he's the kind of person that I want to be. He's so positive and so upbeat and like never give up, never surrender, like, you know, keep believing, keep fighting, you know, pierce through the heavens, you know what I mean? Like, he's so motivated and driven and inspiring. Like, he's badass and he's strong and he's really cool, and I love his character design and his tattoos with, like, you know, the glasses and the red cape and everything. Like, but more than any of his skills, more than any of the way that he pirates any of the, you know, robots or any of the, you know, cool one-liners or anything that he has, it's really more about the kind of character that Kamina is and what he like represents that I love so much about him. And I think he's like an SS plus character to me. Plus he gets with Yoko, like, bro got
And Yoko,
bro
she's
got
different.
Game, my guy.
She is different.
She is. Yeah, the Kamina definitely deserves S tier. I'd never be able to put him in anything less than that. Even if Gael wanted to put like F tier and try to meet someone in the middle, I would say no, Kamina would go in S tier. I feel that strongly about him.
From the 8 episodes that I've seen, he was by far the best part of that show, and yeah. And I need to go back and watch the actual thing start to finish.
You do, and I would even do that with you if you want to do like a watch party in the Discord or whatever. I would 100% do that with you.
Yo,
I love Gurren Lagann. All right.
I'm on summer break now, so you already know we can do a lot of stuff, bro.
Let's get it. All right. Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so this is going based off the anime, by the way, just for everyone to make this clear. This is not manga. Because
yeah, this is an anime list. Yeah.
If this was manga, I'd probably put him higher than what I'm going to. Because my problem with the Tokyo Ghoul anime is, number one, the second half is ass cheeks, but number two, like, even in the first part, but even in like the beginning part, like when Tokyo Ghoul was like actually okay as an anime, I said this like last time we did a tier list, but I'll say it again, where Kaneki is a good character in the sense of he definitely depicts a very human like reaction of what it would be like to transform into a ghoul in real life, and I really appreciate that. My problem is that Tokyo Ghoul makes that a little too accurate, that it stops getting like human and starts getting disgusting. Like it's pretty disgusting when you actually see him turn into a ghoul. And that's not necessarily Kaneki's fault. I'm just saying that like I feel like for the audience it kind of like takes away some of like how much they like them or are interested in them, because Kaneki is a character and what we saw of him made us like disengage from the show, because like you're getting visuals of him throwing up after he eats something and you're like, bro, what? Like stop. Like, because we associate that a negative emotion with him kind of brings him down. Besides that, I think in the first season he's okay. He's not a bad written character. He's a pretty solidly written character, but he's not like anything special. And then you just got to season 2, and then you're like, the fuck is this? Like, Route 8, like, what the fuck? Like, it all goes out the window. I do not like Kaneki at all. Also, like, I know a lot of people get frustrated. Like, it makes no sense that he did this or that, and then he gives the reason, and it still doesn't make any sense as to, like, why he joins the bad guys or whatever. And, like, in the manga, it makes more sense, but because this is the anime, there's now a lot of actions that Kaneki does that, like, do not make much sense, or at least they're not explained why he does it. And so because of that, he's not that great of a character. Now, in terms of where I put him, see, he's cool enough in the first half of season 1 that I would put him in C, but I'm even looking at Gintoki, and although I find Gintoki annoying when he's not serious, the moments when he's serious are just better than anything Kaneki does. So I think we're about to have our first D tier character.
Honestly, I'm okay with that, because I was looking at everyone else on the list, and I'm like, I mean, I like Aizawa and Gogeta better. I would have been okay with putting him in C tier, but you actually know more about Tokyo Ghoul than I do, so if you want to put him in D, that's where he's gonna go.
Yeah, and there's only one other character I can see going in C or D right now.
Maybe two.
Maybe two. Oh, yeah, I just saw the other.
Maybe two, yeah.
Maybe two.
Alright, next on the list. This is both of our favorite characters from Bleach. We have Kenpachi Zaraki, captain of Squad 11, and the most badass motherfucker in the entire series. Fuck, dude.
Yeah. Like, I know people shit on Bleach, like, to some extent, some of it makes sense, and then there's, like, the other half where I'm like, what? Like, no. Like,
Kenny
it's
goes,
actually awesome. Like,
Kenny goes hard, bro.
Yeah, and, like, especially with... I think one of people's favorite things about Bleach is just how cool of a show it is. So, like, obviously, like, sure, the plot is decent and the characters are decent. Like, nothing is, like, really lacking. But I think the reason why it got as popular as it did is just because of how awesome, like, some of the stuff is in it, like, from powers to characters. And I think one of the embodiments of such enjoyment is Kenpachi. Like, a lot of people, like, I think Bleach was, like, not as cool. I don't know how to, like, exactly characterize that right now. But if it were, like, to be, like, some other series where it's just not as awesome as it was, I'd say Bleach would still be popular, but it wouldn't be, like, the top 3 shonen that it's known as. But because it is so freaking cool, it's top 3. And I think Kenpachi, along with plenty of other characters, but specifically Kenpachi, is just because of how badass and cool he is. Just Kenpachi is like a manifestation of what we love about Bleach. Essentially, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And like, even from the first time you meet him, where it's like he purposefully nerfs himself, like he puts the bells in his hair so that like you can actually hear him, because otherwise he moves too fast. And then just like, he's just looking for a good fight. He's freaking awesome, dude.
I fell in love with Kenpachi literally from the first time you meet him in the rescue arc. And yeah, like you said, like, he's just immediately introduced as just like this next tier badass. He purposefully goes out of his way to nerf himself as hard as possible. because he's so fucking strong and he loves fighting so much that he just wants to have a good fight, and like he can't find anybody that's on his level in terms of just raw strength and spirit pressure. So he nerfs himself with the eye patch. Not only does that obviously cut his vision in half, but it cuts his spiritual pressure in half. He has the bells on his hair so you can hear him more accurately because, like you said, he's so fast. And then, unlike every other captain who, like... So in Bleach, in order to become one of the captains of the 13 Court Guard Squads, you have to have a Bankai. Kenpachi, for 90% of the series, doesn't even have a Shikai, which is the step below a Bankai. He became a captain of the 13 Court Guard Squads by being able to kill the previous captain of Squad 11 with nothing more than just raw speed and strength. Like, Kenpachi is the epitome of just badassery. And that's always been my favorite thing about him, is like his bloodlust and his like, he just wants to fight, and like he's kind of like a stoic, you know, doesn't emote a lot of character until he gets into a fight, and then he just starts grinning and laughing and like, yes, more, give me more. Like, he enjoys getting cut because like his skin is so strong that most people can't even make him bleed. So when he finds like a good opponent, he's like, oh yeah, you just hurt me, like this is gonna be fun. And it's for a battle shonen series, a character like that's done as well and written as well as Kenpachi just makes all the scenes that he's in so fun to watch. Like, I could talk about the Noitora fight and like, you know, using two hands or whatever, but just like, that's basically just the epitome of Kenpachi's characters. He's just the personification of just raw badassery, and like, I just want to have a really good fight. I love Kenpachi. Super, super cool. Definitely an S tier character.
And Kenpachi isn't the only one that only uses one hand, if you know what I mean.
Gael, why?
I just saw him, I was like, oh no, I have to say this. Also, like, just another quick thing, as someone who's like actually a fighter in real life and stuff, that like love for battle. Now, I'm not saying that like I would like be gushing if like someone cut me and I was like, yes, like I'm not like that, but like there is an excitement to battle that I think Kenpachi encapsulates, where it's just an exciting thing that happens when you're like in an actual like good duel. Like in jiu-jitsu, like when I'm facing a white belt, like it's not fun. Like like you're just shitting on it. It's not fun. And then when you're getting shit onto, it's also not fun because you're just over there getting clapped. But like when you have a decent opponent with you and you know that both of you are on equal footing, there is serious excitement and enjoyment there that I feel like Kenpachi is one of only few characters that like actually can highlight that excitement.
Yeah. Thorkel from Vinland Saga is another character that basically has like that exact same thing.
Yep.
Which is what makes Thorkel a character that everyone loves.
Yep.
Alright, moving on. I was actually debating on even having SAO on this list at all, because I just don't like it. Just like as a majority. I mean, granted, I've only seen the first season with like Einkrad and Elfheim, but just from what I've seen, I don't really like SAO at all. I don't really like any of the characters or anything. But me and Gael both decided that we should include it on the list. And so I'm definitely not picking Kirito, and to be honest with you, I don't really like Asuna that much, like, either. In the second season, or I guess the second half of the first season, whatever, in Elfheim, she's basically completely taken out of the story and just used as, like, you know, your typical, like, damsel in distress fodder. So, we went with Klein as our favorite character.
And the reason, because I know a lot of you are like, who the fuck is this guy? It's like, well, he's the only character who, like, or at least from my understanding, I don't actually know much, but, like, one, he doesn't piss me off like Kirito or Asuna. And on top of that, he's like mostly only an Aincrad, which is like the best part of SAO. So you know, if he's just from the best part, then you know, he's got to be the best one.
But he's also like, one of the things about SAO that I don't like is like how broken the main cast of characters is and everything. It's just like not relatable or really exciting to watch. But like Klein is, because he is just like a regular dude, so he does have to worry about getting killed, and you know, like the way that he goes through the story is a much more like relatable, I guess, like, you know, portrayal of like a character in that situation. And so I think that makes, you know, Klein a lot more like likable personally.
Just quickly read. So what this list is from the series that we've watched, not all of them, but most of them. Series that we've seen. Some of them, it's our favorite characters. The reason why some have two is if Lance and I disagreed on like who our favorite character was, and then if there's only one character from that series, that's because we agreed that that's both of our favorite characters.
Yes, but yeah,
That's
basically
why I
this is
like
just
to
our
see-
favorite characters in anime from the series that both Gael and I have watched.
Yeah, so like a series like Vinland Saga, you'll only see Askeladd there, but Seven Deadly Sins, there's two because we had different favorite characters there.
Yes, and then we're ranking them how
That's
we
right.
think that they should go. Yeah.
And Balls Deep 6ix9ine is definitely S tier. I
Oh,
agree.
100%. Best character of all time.
Back to
Klein,
Klein.
Klein, I'm like,
He-
he's a D. Yeah, he's a D tier character. Like, and that just kind of goes to show how much both Gael and I don't like the characters from SAO. Basically, if that's our favorite character from the series.
Yeah.
That's actually cool to know. Sax, I didn't know that. Klein means small in German. That's good to know. That's fun. So Gael hasn't seen Inuyasha, but I love the series so much that even though like he hasn't seen it, I still wanted to include it on the list. So my favorite character, it goes back and forth between Koga and Shishomaru, but I grew up like a hardcore Koga fanboy. I love Koga. He's not really that like important to the story like as a character. He's definitely a side character. He's not, you know, one of the main like group. I always just loved him though. I loved his character design, and I loved his like personality and everything like when I was younger, cuz like for reference, Inuyasha was like, I don't know, one like the third anime that I watched. Like, it was, like, very, very young in my development. I was, like, you know, 11, 12, you know, years old when I first started watching Inuyasha. So, I immediately fell in love with Koga as soon as he was introduced. He's badass. His whole thing is, like, his speed. So, like, the MacGuffin of Inuyasha is the Sacred Jewel Shard, and it gets fractured into a bunch of tiny pieces. There's like, you know, hundreds of them. It's a jewel that got fractured, and so there's a bunch of demons, and they use the, you know, little shards of the Sacred Jewel, and depending on where they put them on their body, it gives them some kind of like boost. So Koga, he's a wolf demon, which wolves are cool. But also he has 3 Sacred Jewel Shard pieces at the start of the series. He has one in his right arm, which makes him ridiculously strong. When he punches, he can like fracture the ground. But he also has 1 Jewel Shard in each leg. So he's by far the fastest character in the series, to the point that when he runs, it literally makes a tornado around him, like as he's running, just from like the speed. So like he's really cool. He's really powerful. The thing that really made me like fall in love with him though was his personality. So like he's the exact opposite of Inuyasha, the main character. Both of them have a thing for Kagome, who's the main girl. But Inuyasha and Koga hate each other because of that fact. Every time Koga shows up, his immediate thing is to just start flirting with Kagome really hard right in front of Inuyasha. He proposes to her a couple times, constantly calls her beautiful. It's always one of those things where, like, if they're about to get in a serious situation, Koga's like, oh, do you need me to stick around? Because I can protect you. And this mangy, stinky mutt over here, I can't trust him to protect you. He's weak and he's garbage. Like, you need me here to protect you. And Koga and Inuyasha, like, they always go back and forth with each other and just call each other names, and, like, they hate each other, and they just argue and fight and stuff all the time, and I think that their dynamic is, like, hilarious. I love that stuff. Just on top of him being, like, generally badass, and, yeah, he has a lot of good moments and fights, and there's a couple different points through this series where, like, the specific demon that they're fighting at the time will be, like, really strong, and so Koga and Inuyasha will have to, like, team up and work on the same side, but because they hate each other, they're, like, fighting together, but they're, like, arguing and not, like, you know, meshing or coordinating their attacks well, because the fact that they don't like each other, so that, you know, those specific fights are, like, really interesting for those reasons and everything, so Koga's a really, really good character. I like him. He's enjoyable. He's not, like, super deep or anything. He's the leader of a wolf demon tribe. He's mostly just badass, and I like his personality, and I think he's, like, really cool and funny and stuff. So for those reasons, I mean, to me personally, just because of my fondness for Inuyasha as a series, I want to put him in, like, A tier, but, like, objectively speaking, he's probably closer to, like, a B tier character. But I love the shit out of Koga.
Yeah, just do whatever. So
You know
I
what?
don't really have input, yeah.
Fuck it. I'm gonna put him in A tier. I love Koga. Koga's fucking cool. Okay, so this is, next is both of our favorite characters from Fairy Tail, and we both decided to go with Luxus. And I just went on a rant this time, so I'll let you take it here, Gael.
Yeah, so of course there's, like, you know, the tragedy of the English dub with Fairy Tail, the, like, it's raining with a chance of Luxus, and I'm like, oh god. So, it's horrible. But besides that, though, like, him as a character, I mean, he's fine. Like, I don't necessarily think Fairy Tail has the highest quality of character. I know there's some people that, like, really love Fairy Tail, like, top 5 stuff. I'm not one of those people. I personally prefer a lot of other stuff. And for me, Roxas is, I guess, one of the cooler characters, I'd say. I know that it's very, like, stereotypical in Fairy Tail to do the whole, like, bad guy becomes good guy. But in Loxus's case, it was a little more believable than all of the others because, like, well, first of all, he was already a member of the Fairy Tail Guild. And it's just that, like, I don't even think he was a villain, honestly. I don't know about you, but I think Loxus was an anti-hero from the start. Like, that's always been the way he was depicted to me, was that, like, he's more of, like, a lone wolf agent who is a part of the guild, but doesn't necessarily abide to the rules.
Right.
I wouldn't say he's, like, a bad guy, per
He also
se.
just kind of, like, shit on the other characters, and, like, you guys are trash or stupid, or, like, you know, why even bother having friends kind of thing. Like, power's the only thing that matters, you know, kind of guy.
Yeah, he's kind of like if you were to have a sports team and your best player was better than you by a lot, but he was also like an ass to your entire team and doesn't necessarily play with you guys. He just kind of does his own thing, like he wouldn't pass the ball around much. He'd like shit talk you guys. That's kind of what Loxus is. So I never considered him like a villain, which is why I think I like the bad guy becomes good guy a little bit more, because like he wasn't really a villain from the first place. He didn't have like a major change of heart. He had like a more like human change to him, and I think that it worked better than a lot of other characters that had that same transformation.
Right.
And yes, Cal, I know Urza though, but my thing with Urza is I can't properly like analyze how good of a character she is because I'm too busy like enjoying other aspects of character.
Oh my god, Gael.
I don't have a good gauge, so I don't trust myself. So yeah, it's Loxus for me. It's the coolest character.
Oh my god. Yeah, and I mean, like, the only thing I'll really add to that is, he does have, you know, a decently good character arc, because, yeah, like Gael said, he starts as that, like, really unlikable, like, douchey character, but, you know, some events happen, and he learns to, like, he kind of does the, you know, full, like, 180 where he goes from, like, you know, hating friendship and all of that stuff to, like, you know, relying on guild and actually, like, becoming, like, a member of the team and learning to rely on other people and other people learning to be able to rely on him and kind of, really fitting into the whole, like, family aspect of Fairy Tail, because one of the big themes is, like, they don't consider themselves just a guild, they're one big family. And so Loxus eventually learns, to accept and appreciate that, and becomes like a really, cool member of the team. Yeah, Loxus is pretty cool. What do you think, like C tier, B tier?
C?
Yeah, I think, and kind of again, like, and just like, I mean, you could definitely make the argument that, like, Loxus is, like, like a better written character than Gogeta or whatever, but, like, I get a lot more enjoyment out of seeing Gogeta on screen than I do Loxus, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So, like, I feel like C tier makes sense.
Yeah. Got you.
Okay. Next, Lelouch Lamperouge.
Lelouch.
Or Lelouch v Britannia, whichever one that you want to go to. From Code Geass.
Yeah. So, like, honestly, goals. Like, I don't know what else to say about Lelouch besides, like, he's that guy. He's that guy in school, He's the type of guy that's, like, he's just that guy, He's that one guy in high school that was, like, both good in class and also everything else, and he fucking knew it and owned it, but wasn't a full asshole about it. He was just like, but he knew it. And he's not necessarily good at everything, but he knows what he is good at, and he sticks to it.
Right.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
And especially seeing, like, just how far that goes later on in the series, because that's kind of how he's introduced, but just, like, seeing how much he develops and all that, and his plans and all that stuff. And I think it's kind of obvious that he's going in S tier, but, like, just to solidify that, I think one thing that I really value in characters, I said this earlier, is when they're unpredictable. That's why I like Hisoka as much as I do, and that's also why I like... Although Itachi isn't unpredictable, but he has that unpredictable element of the audience isn't sure what's going on because you don't know if it's real or not, if you're in his genjutsu or not. Just, like, kind of making the audience unsure. Having that value is really good, and because of how complex Lelouch's plan is that your first time watching Code Geass, you don't actually know, like, what the plan is when you're watching it because it's so complex. So I think any character that leaves the audience unsure about what's about to happen is just automatically an S tier character. That's why I like Hisoka, that's why I like Itachi, and definitely why I like Lelouch.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, like, he just plays his role perfectly. The, the mastermind, like, the guy that has a goal for the greater good of the world, but in order to achieve that, he has to kind of, like, be the bad guy. He does a lot of unethical or underhanded stuff to achieve his, goals, but he really is doing things for the betterment of the entire world. And you definitely get to see, that throughout the entire series, and especially the ending, with what happens to his character and everything. So, absolutely an S-tier character. Lelouch is fantastic in basically every regard. Lelouch is the kind of character that I guess I wish that Light turned out to be, instead of, like, going the other way with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next from Attack on Titan, we have Levi.
Let me just preface this to the chat by saying Lance has not seen past season 2.
No, and that was like when it came out, so that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
So for those of you that are like, where's Eren? Where's Eren? Lance hasn't seen when Eren's gotten, like, really good as a character. And then on top of that, for me, I've seen all of it. The reason why I didn't pick Eren is because, like, I'm okay with characters being, like, who they are. Like, you don't necessarily need to like a character for them to be great. Like, I think there's a couple characters on this list that we don't necessarily like, but they're a great character. But for me, Eren, as great of a character as he is, he's a little too much of an asshole for me to actually, like, put him as my favorite character. Like, asshole characters can be cool sometimes, but Eren is just, like, I don't know, man. Like, he's a great character, but sometimes I'm like, dude, just, like, someone kill this man right now. Like, seriously, I'm not trying to do this right now. So that's why both of us picked Levi. Consistently badass, consistently cool,
Mm-hmm.
and also, in my opinion, at least in the first half of the series, has more memorable moments, like just of sheer awesomeness. I think the best parts of season 1 are all Levi sequences. Like, anytime he actually uses the 3D gear, like, I think those are the best moments in that season. And now I know this isn't necessarily a Levi scene, but it does lead into a Levi scene. But I think the best part about Levi is that he always climaxes good moments. And so the best example of this is in season 3 when Erwin gives his great speech before they charge at the Beast Titan. Like, that is such a great like entire sequence of events, and the climax of that is Levi getting to fight the Beast Titan. So he just pretty much gives a pinnacle of what's already like a monumental moment. Same in season 1, like the entire like trying to trap the female titan as they're in the forest, and they like have all the spears and all the cables ready to go, and then she wipes out Levi's squad, and then Levi is there. Like, that entire like sequence of episodes also amazing, and then Levi climaxes that by doing the famous sequence of where we see him like turn into a human Beyblade as he cuts up the female titan who was shitting on everyone else. So that's my favorite part
I
of
love
Levi.
that
Is that
meme.
he,
Everyone's a human Beyblade.
yeah. So that's what makes Levi so cool to me, is the fact that every single great moment in Attack on Titan, he takes it and then he gives it like the best part to it. Or
Right.
not, sometimes not the best part, but just like he pretty much makes like a satisfactory like conclusion afterwards. He gives you that like point we've been building towards, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, because I've only seen the first 2 seasons, I don't really have a lot of like, depth on his character or anything like that. So I know a lot about him from spoilers, like I know who he's actually related to and stuff like that, and his last name and blah blah blah. Just spoilers of being in the community for so long, it's impossible not to. But I haven't actually like seen or experienced any of that for myself. So really, all I have to go on is the little bits that you get to see him in the first 2 seasons, and that was a long time ago. But I do remember him being like super badass, and I do remember thinking he was like way cooler than like Eren or Mikasa or Armin or really any of the other characters. So for those reasons, yeah. It's kind of unfair because I haven't seen it, but yeah, I mean, like just being pretty badass. I mean, I guess I'd put him in like B tier, but I have such little perspective on the character.
Yeah, you're putting his ass in S tier right now.
All right, you know more about him than I do, so I feel like that's probably fair.
Yeah. So I feel like if we were to not actually put him in A tier, just because I want to have some fanboy rage, especially if you post this on Twitter, there are going to be
Which
people
I'm
out there.
going to. So.
All right, we're doing it. Put him in A.
Oh my God! All right,
Open the gates.
Gael just trying to start a war. Let's
Yes.
go.
Let's go. All the violence. Like, he'll be at the top of A, obviously, but like,
Right.
actually, yeah, especially because we put Hyakimaru in A tier. I'm not putting Levi in fucking S tier. No.
Okay, that's fair.
Right. L.
Yeah. So L from Death Note is our both of our picks from Death Note. To be fair, there's really only like 4 or 5 characters to pick from in Death Note. There's L, Light, Ryuk, what's her nut, Misa Misa, I guess Misa Misa's Shinigami. There's like not that many characters really in Death Note that are like prominent. But yeah, no, L is, I mean, he's pretty much everyone's favorite character from Death Note. He's the foil to Light, the main character. He's really quirky and weird as far as like his own personality. He's very like introverted, not super social or anything like that. But he's incredibly smart and honestly probably smarter than Light is. The only person that could really like challenge him on an intellectual level and like beat him in his own game kind of thing. but because he has all of those, little quirks about him, it makes him like a lot more like endearing as well, versus Light, who kind of, has his whole complex and everything that his go through. Their character arcs are kind of like, reverse of each other, you know what I mean? Like one's up, the other one's going down. L is just a lot more like enjoyable, and he makes the show, because with a character like Light, you really need a good, counter to that, and L was the perfect counter to him, I think. And so I think that L really like made the show what it was, because he was the perfect piece that the show needed to really like push Light to his limits as a character.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that a lot. I think he's an incredibly smart character, and kind of the same way why we like Lelouch so much is that he's so smart to the point where you don't know what's going to happen next because his plan is so intricate. So because of that, you're kind of left like wondering what's going to happen next, and because like you're so unsure about that, really enhances the watching experience. So I think L makes or breaks Death Note. I think the absence of L just completely takes away from the series. I think that's even more apparent is that I think Death Note is mandatory to have a foil in order for it to succeed as a show.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also speaks volumes to how good L was as the foil, just because of the fact that when you go into the second half and it's Near as the foil, like people did not like the show as much. And I think that just shows you how well L did the foil role because of how like freakishly smart he is. And also like actually, this is a minor detail that I know a lot of people don't like, but I personally like how L very accurately represents a genius in the fact that he's kind of on the spectrum and like his
Yeah.
social skills. Like
Yep.
he sits weirdly, he looks really, really awkward and sometimes even creepy. And I know that like the smartest of the smart people in the world can be like, I'm not saying all of them, I don't want to label anyone, but they can have people on the spectrum when you're that smart, and I think L very accurately represents that, and I've always kind of appreciated that like connection to like reality in that sense. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, L is S tier.
I totally agree. I think he's definitely the best character in Death Note, hands down. So this one I should have done earlier when Gale did Aizawa, but I'll just the image got cut weird, but this is Mirio from My Hero Academia. Mirio is my favorite character. I just think he's kind of like the full package in the sense of like he's got super dope abilities. Like his quirk that he has is ridiculously powerful, especially used the way that he uses it. But it's also not one of those things where he just like got gifted a badass power and has it, kind of like, Bakugo or Todoroki or whatever. His power, if you don't learn to use it properly, could not only be really destructive for other people, but also himself, and so he had to work really, really hard to master his abilities and get to the point where he is, which he was able to do. Plus, I think like he's very likable. He's very upbeat. He's like your stereotypical like this is what a hero should be: strong and kind and never wavers, never back downs, always positive. Motivational and that kind of stuff. But he's also got his goofy little traits, like because he can phase through things, like how he'll just like randomly pop his face like through the ground or through a wall or whatever and like freak people out because they can't tell that he's there, and just stuff like that. He's one of the like 3 strongest characters from their school, and I also like the little tidbit that was thrown in there, like Mirio was going to be the character that All Might was going to give one for all to, until he met Deku, and I guess he just like meshed with Deku on a philosophical level a little bit better. But Mirio's just kind of like the complete package of like having a super dope ability, but also like having to work for it and be cool, and then also just like a really like great personality and everything. Yeah, I just think he's super cool. As far as like actual character goes, I mean like yeah, probably B tier, I guess. I think I like everybody else in A tier more than him, honestly, by a pretty good margin as well. So yeah, I think even though he's my favorite character for My Hero, I think I'm still gonna put him in B tier.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mob.
Mob.
Alright, so this one's really interesting for me because Mob Psycho is one of my favorite anime of all times, but even so, there's no particular character that I like really, really like in Mob. It's actually
really?
kind of interesting. Yeah, because like don't get me wrong, I like Mob. Like he's obviously both of our favorite characters from the series. He's good and all that, but like usually when a show is like in my top like 5 or whatever, there's like multiple reasons behind it, but one of them is usually a killer cast of characters, and Mob Psycho is the one exception to that where it's a show that's also in my top 5, but their cast of characters is like, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not like really good either. Like if you take a show like Haikyuu or Yu Hakusho, like they have some banger characters in there. I mean, you can see on our list that both Yu Hakusho characters are in S tier, and what else did I say? I said Yu Hakusho, I said one other show, but anyway, yeah, no, just like these bangers of show. Oh, and Haikyuu, which your character's in A, and we'll get to mine in a little bit.
Right.
But just like there's so many good characters, but with Mob Psycho, I don't know. It's just like there's no one that like I really enjoy seeing. Now, I do think Mob is super relatable, and I do think Mob is very likable, and that is why I think he is a very good character. It's just I don't necessarily think that he's like a banger of a character. For me, he's probably going to end up in A tier if I'm being honest. Like I think that he super likable. I like the way that he chooses to do stuff where he actively chooses to not use his psychic powers because he wants to fit in. I think that's great, but just like I don't know, there's like nothing that I don't know how to say this. It's just there's nothing about Mob that like makes him stand out as an amazing character for me as much as I like him.
Gotcha. I mean, to me, I think Mob is more of an S. I'd lean more towards S than A. One, because I do think he's really likable and relatable. But also I think it's cool how like a lot of other characters from a lot of other series that had like his power set probably, you know, would be the kind of person that would want to like use him to take over the world or, you know, whatever. Have some kind of like grandiose goal and use his powers to achieve that. And Mob is just like, dude, I just want to be like a regular kid and go to school and like, you know, get the pretty girl to like me and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he doesn't let his powers like dictate or control what kind of person that he is at all. If anything, he's actually kind of like afraid of them because of like, you know, accidentally misusing them a few times in the past and stuff. But I also, like, outside of all of that, I also think it's really cool to see, like, how his powers affect him and then also, like, how he learns to use them. Like, every time you start seeing his percentage meter tick up when he's frustrated or upset or whatever, gets me so hyped and excited. And then especially those times where it breaks and it goes question mark, question mark, question mark. I always just think is super badass, and the first time you're watching it, you're like, oh my god, this guy can't control his abilities, and he literally just, like, broke his meter. What is about to happen? It's always, like, super, super, super cool and exciting. Yeah, I think Mob he's a really well-written character, and I think we can, you know, all of us probably, to at least some extent, can, you know, relate to being the dorky kid in school that, you know, is not super popular. The pretty girls don't like you. You know, you're just trying to, you know, make a couple friends and get by and, you know, live a normal life or whatever. Yeah, I think he's like, as far as an actual character for my life or whatever, he's probably the most like actually relatable to like any other character on this list in that sense.
So Another point for that I actually didn't think about until right now that you brought that up with the whole percentage and where when it hits 100 it then goes into question marks. One
Mm-hmm.
thing that I really like about Mob's character, and it's only really shown because of the percentage number, is after like one bad thing happens, it doesn't necessarily go away from like your emotional status. I feel like in so many fictional shows, when one bad thing happens, as soon as the event's over, the character like resets their emotional state before something else happens. In the case of Mob Psycho, you have all these things happen that like increase his percentages at different lengths. And I feel like that's something that almost no other show does, is that when someone snaps and gets really angry, it's not necessarily because of one thing, it's because of the accumulation of so many different things together. And I just
Mm-hmm.
think that that's masterfully done in Mob Psycho, so he's a great character.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's deserving of S tier personally.
Sorry, someone walked in, but yeah, I honestly, yeah, now actually thinking about that percentage thing, I'm down to put him in S.
Let's go. All right. Because that honestly, like, because when I do post this on Twitter, that actually might make a lot of people rage not having Mob in S tier. Everyone loves Mob. All right. So this is both of our favorite characters from Fullmetal Alchemist. We both chose Roy Mustang, although Edward
Shout out,
Elric himself was a very close second place, because Ed
and
is an amazing character.
also I Gling, I think he's also great.
Who? Oh, Greedling.
Greed.
Yeah, that's also true. Alphonse is a great character. I mean, like, Hughes is a fantastic character. Major Armstrong is a fantastic character. Fuhrer Bradley is a great character. Like, there's a lot of really, really good characters. Me and Gail both personally just really liked Mustang the best. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is very good, yes. I mean, like, what's not to like about him? He's cool looking. He's got a really cool power set. His alchemy is flame alchemy. I've said multiple times, like, fire's always been like my favorite, kind of like element. He's very like kind of cold and stern and badass a lot of the times, but he's also like a really great person, and that everything that he does is for the greater good or for justice or whatever. Like, he's the kind of guy that's not afraid to do the hard thing, that needs to be done when other people don't want to do it. You get to see, like, his backstory back, in the war with, what was the name of the other country? It starts with an I. Ishtar?
Ishtar's
Ishvalan. The Ishvalan
yeah,
War.
Ishvalan.
Yes. So you get to see a lot of, like, his backstory and, like, how he was in the war and how all the trauma and the death and everything, that he went through back then, like, affects his character and, like, the way that he handles things nowadays. And I love his relationship with Ed, because he's always trying to, like, reel him in, and, because Ed's, he's a wild card. He's very emotional. Yo, Sam, thank you for the 50 bits. But he's very, like, Ed's very emotional and kind of, like, wants to do things his way, not the right way or the way, like, by the books or the way that, the government would want him to and stuff like that. So I love his dynamic. I love his dynamic with Hawkeye. She's also a fantastic character. And, probably best waifu from that series. That's debatable. But, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of love about Mustang. Like, that's all just, like, character stuff on top of, like, the fights and stuff that you do get to see him in, like, especially that fight that he has against Lust. Super, super, super cool. I love Mustang.
Yeah, one of my favorite aspects to Mustang is the fact that he's a badass, like your typical badass characters, but he's like more human than like my problem with some badass characters is that they kind of lose like anything else to them besides the fact that they're cool. That's like what makes their character. In Mustang's case, he's both like a really cool character, but he also is like still a character underneath that. And like the fact that Mustang has moments where like he loses his composure and he gets really upset and stuff like that really shows how he's he doesn't lose like his humanity to just be like a cool character the way that
Right.
some other characters get to be. So I really appreciate that. So I'm down to put him in another. Oh wait, what am I saying? I'm down to put him in S if you want.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably where he deserves to go. Hold on one second. I fucked that sentence up a lot. There we go.
Yeah, Sam. I've read the manga. I know Kaneki's better. I'm just saying in the anime, he's definitely D.
Yeah. Oh man, do I like Mustang as much as the other characters in S tier? I kind of think Mustang's like a high A tier.
Sure. I'm down to put him in A too. Either or works. But if he's going in A, he's going to be at the top. Like not the very top, but like top 3.
No, you know what? I think I'm okay with putting him in S tier. You already put him in S tier, and I'm like, that makes sense. I'm just like, I don't know. There's a lot of characters that I like more than him in S tier, but there's a lot of characters that I like him more than in A tier. So, yeah, we'll put him in S.
Right, Nagisa?
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you, my guy. Yes, so Nagisa from Assassination Classroom. I actually just finished Assassination Classroom not that long ago, so it's still very fresh in my mind. We both picked Nagisa. The only other character that I really thought was worthy of being like the best character from that series, or at least my favorite, is Karma, because I loved Karma. And Koro Sensei is obviously, really, really, really good too.
Yeah.
I just really like Nagisa. He's like, obviously he's the main character, and you see most of the series like through his eyes and his perspective. But I also love the journey that he goes on from being like, because he's so small and meek and everything, no one really thinks that highly of him. And then, like, it turns out that of everybody in the class, he's actually the one that's most suited to be an assassin and has, like, S tiers in potential and, all the things that, go into being an assassin. And watching him grow into his own, get more confident, become, like, one of the, 2 or 3 leaders of the classroom as far as, like, the students are concerned. His interactions with everybody, like his relationship with Koro Sensei, and everything else, like, and then getting to see his backstory with his mother and, how he's been treated his whole life, but, like, the way that he carries himself and, his motivations and everything, like, despite that, are really cool, even down to, like, the way that he does his hair is actually, like, a very big part of his character with, like, his backstory and everything. But yeah, I think he's a very well written character. I think he's very relatable and likable. And I think he has plenty of like really badass moments too, especially in the second season. Yeah, but I think Nagisa's a great character.
Yeah, I'm not gonna really repeat too much of what you said because you said a lot of what main points of like his backstory and all that, like badass moments. Like, oh, that's great. One thing I did want to touch up on with Nagisa is that Nagisa does something that I don't think any other character in fiction does, and it's so rare and even taboo to a point where, like, I'm gonna have trouble verbalizing this because of, like, how little it is spoken of. But
Okay.
Nagisa's relationship with Koro Sensei highlights a topic that, yeah, no, I really don't think too many other things talk about this, but relationship between those two gives commentary to liking something that you necessarily shouldn't. Like, Koro Sensei is an alien coming down to destroy the world, but Nagisa builds a relationship with him. Like, logically speaking, you really shouldn't, like, be liking this person in any aspect whatsoever because of how big of a threat they are, but Nagisa, I mean, they're not, like...
And your entire job is to kill them, yeah.
Yeah, but, like, that's not the case. Nagisa isn't filled with, like, hatred or despise for Koro Sensei. And it gets to a point where, again, I don't think any other show does this, where it talks about what if you like something that you necessarily shouldn't like, at least by by at least how the world works, you shouldn't be. And I can't exactly point out a moment in my life that I felt exactly like this, but I know everyone at least has some scenarios that work in a similar effect of like, this isn't necessarily what should be happening, but it is, and I can't really deny my emotions of it.
Right.
And because it's like such a weird thing, I feel like a lot of shows just simply choose never to talk about it, but it's something that does occur in life, and I think that Nagisa and Koro Sensei's relationship highlights this.
Right. And especially like at the end of this series, Nagisa actually ends up taking a lot of like inspiration of the kind of person that he wants to be moving forward from Koro Sensei, which I think also speaks to how great of a character Koro Sensei is as well. Yeah. Nagisa, I feel like he's an A tier character.
Agree. A
tier? Let's go. Alright. We're gonna skip over him just for a minute, just to get Oikawa out of here, because we already did the Haikyuu earlier. So just knock... You can actually just take both of these in a row. Well, both of them are your characters anyway. So, whatever order you want to do it in, actually. Yeah.
I'll do Oikawa first, since you did Asahi earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I explained this to you, so I'll just explain it to people
actually,
listening.
Since go ahead and do your thing, since both of these are going to be yours, and I'm out of G Fuel, I'm actually going to go make one real quick. So just do your thing, and then when I get back, you can tell me what tiers you want them in.
For sure.
Yeah. Do your
All
thing.
right, cool. Yeah. Alright, so for Oikawa and Haikyuu, for those of you that don't know, Haikyuu is my second favorite series of all time, and I'm also, well, I guess I just graduated, so not anymore, but I used to be a high school boys volleyball player, so Haikyuu, and that I was currently playing volleyball at the time that I first watched Haikyuu, so it hits different. It's different, you know, but the reason why Oikawa is my favorite character in a series that I love dearly with numerous characters that I love, the reason Oikawa stands above the best is he best highlights a thing that I personally deal with in my life, which is being great at something but not necessarily being number one when that's what you're striving for, and kind of not really knowing what you could have done to be number one. Oikawa is obviously amazing at volleyball, and there's no denying that whatsoever. He is the ace of his team, or I guess not necessarily the ace, but he's the captain for a reason. He's by far the best player on Seijo. And he leads them to many victories, and he gets really far. He always does really well, but there's always someone better than him. It's either Ushijima when they lose to Shiratorizawa, or it's Karasuno when they lose to, like, Kageyama and Nishinoya and Hinata and everyone. So it does show how great Oikawa is, but he never was number one. But the thing is, he was working his ass off, and he's kind of left clueless at the end of season 2, and then going into season 4 when we see him like going for a run as he listens to nationals. He's sitting there and he's thinking like, what could I have done differently when I worked as hard as I did? And that's something that I face in speech and debate, where I am pretty damn great at it, but I'm not necessarily number one. And on top of that, I don't know what I could have done to have been number one, because I just worked as hard as I did, and it paid off for sure, but it didn't pay off with not even necessarily a goal, but just something that would have been really nice, which is to be at the top, and to just have that taken away from me, or not even taken away, but just something to occur like that. It's something that only Oikawa speaks to me in that aspect, and it's something that I really live with. So I think he's great relatability wise, and then also I just think that the series quality gets elevated anytime he's on screen, because when they're playing against each other, not only is there like emotional connection between Oikawa and some of the players, but also his skill just like makes the audience like unsure of who exactly is going to win. And like the Karasuno Seijo games are just like some of the best games, which I know is not solely Oikawa, but he is definitely a big aspect as to why that part of the series is as great as it is. So I think he enhances the series, and he speaks to me in a way that no one else does in terms of relating to being great but not being number one. So
nah, bro, Oikawa's trash, Haikyuu's trash, the entire series trash. No one likes Haikyuu. Haikyuu sucks.
Lance, shut the fuck up.
Volleyball sucks. It's a lame sport. No one likes it.
Ooh. I probably put Oikawa is like A tier probably. I mean, I'd like to put him in S, but like actually looking at who's in S, I think I'll put him in A.
I feel like that makes sense. That was funny. I just had to get that off my chest. I don't actually believe that I love Haikyuu. It's in my top 10 for sure, but I just felt like being an asshole for a minute. All right. Do you want to talk about Nanami as well?
Yeah, so just a disclaimer. I have 3 favorite characters in JJK. It's Gojo, Todo, and Nanami, but Nanami is talked about the least, so going with him. Essentially, Nanami, my favorite part about him, what it really comes down to, is he's who I want to be when I'm like in my 40s or whatever. Like, I want to be that guy. Like, I want to be the guy who's all business, in the suit, no bullshit. We're going to get our shit done. We're going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is just awesome. Like, I like people. I don't necessarily like people like that because sometimes they can be a little harsh to you, but I respect people like that. And I would want to be someone like that because I know that you get the job done no matter what. That is someone I aspire to be, especially because I definitely, like, I don't put up with a lot of bullshit, but I myself, like, produce a lot of bullshit to, like, people around me. Like, not all the time, but I do definitely sometimes, and I strive to be the opposite of that. I strive to just be strictly business, and not to the extent that Nanami goes to, because Nanami is, like, pretty harsh and all that stuff.
Right.
Like, I definitely want to still be, like, a kind, considerate, and caring person, but I think the way he lives is definitely it's definitely something that's inspiring. And also, not to mention, his fighting technique is freaking cool.
Yeah, I love his fucking cursed knife that he has. It's super badass.
But yeah, awesome character. I haven't fully read the manga, so I don't know if he gets explored.
I've only seen the first season of the anime. I don't know anything about JJK past that.
Okay, yeah, so I don't know if his character gets explored more, but because of what he is right now, if he gets like a backstory and like a bunch of more stuff, I'd definitely put him in S. But I'm okay with like putting him in A just because I don't know enough about him yet.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's fair, honestly, and I feel like that's a good spot for him. Because I definitely feel like he is for sure worthy of being with these other characters in A, but I don't quite think he's up there in S tier. That's where I would put him personally. Yeah. Todo, though, my guy.
My besto friendo.
My brother.
My brother.
So, my Todo... Todo is my personal favorite character from JJK. I mean, if you want to dumb it down to just like one reason, I think every scene that Todo is in, every time he's on screen, I think he makes it a 10 out of 10 scene. He's funny, he's charismatic, he's goofy, he's quirky, you know, from like the first time you meet him where he's asking people like, what's your favorite type of woman? And then if he doesn't like your answer, he's gonna beat your ass. But also, like, he's super badass. You know, his techniques, his boogie woogie. Like, I've never seen a power like that in a show before. And it's so fucking cool, especially the way that he uses it in tandem with Itadori and everything. Like, super strong, super badass, super funny. He's delusional, but in like a hilarious way. Like, I was talking about this with Gael last night while we were like deciding on our characters, but I also love how like after their fight together, he's like chasing Itadori around the school grounds, and he's like, "You're my brother. We've been best friends since junior high." And like he totally fabricated this story in his mind. And Yuji's just like, "Dude, we met like 3 days ago. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, get away from me." Like, it's just so funny. Every single time he's on screen is just peak content. That he definitely makes every scene that he's in better because he's there. he's like the complete package, like, of a character between being funny, charismatic, super strong and badass. He's also like a mentor role and teaches Yuji how to like use his powers better and everything like that. Yeah, he's just super cool, dude. Plus, like, I think we all like fit women with big asses. Like, you know, let's go. Toto got it going on.
On top of that, Toto for me, like, I like how he's portrayed as being stupid, but he's actually not. Like, he's actually freakishly smart, but he just acts stupid sometimes. And, like, that's low-key me, so, like, I fuck with that. Also, like...
That's low-key me, dog. Like, I fucking live that life.
Yeah, and on top of that, also, there's also the... When his first question to you is what kind of women you're into, oh my gosh. I just... Like,
and then depending on how you answer that question is whether he's gonna like you or not. I'm just like, oh my god, dude.
No, it's
you're
so
fucking...
funny. But on top of that, Toto also, no one talks about this, but one of my favorite things about Toto is how he does something that not too many other people do, which is really admirable, which is he's not afraid to admit what he truly likes. Like, because, that's actually the real reason why he asked, like, people, what's your taste in women? Where Fushiguro gives a societally, like, good answer, like, society would accept that as, like, a great answer. But Toto knows that Fushiguro is just hiding his true feelings and is just doing it so that... Like, the people around him all agree. Exactly. But when he asks Itadori, the reason why Itadori, he loves him so much is because Itadori is unapologetically telling him...
Like, yeah, he's just straight up like, oh yeah, dude, this kind of chick's a banger, bro. Like...
Yeah, and Toto is, like, really, not just to Itadori and Fushiguro, but also just to the audience. It's like, love who you are, and also, don't be afraid to like what you like. And I think that message is just like a very great message, honestly, because it's a message that gets neglected a lot because people want to say the right thing when sometimes it's okay to just go ahead and say what you actually think. So I really appreciate Toto for that. And although I said he's my favorite character with Nanami, I would actually put him in S.
Yeah, 100%. I think Toto's an S tier character for sure. Every moment that he's on screen, I'm just like, fuck yes, dude. That shit was top tier. Okay, Promised Neverland, and this is just so sad because the second season was just so terrible. But yeah, we both agreed that Ray is our favorite character. Norman is also good, and so is oh my god, Emma. Jesus Christ, I don't know why I blanked so hard on that. But yeah, Ray is just... He's kind of the perfect combination of just, like, really smart, but also cool, and, like, collected. But, like, you know, because he is so young, he does also still react to things, you know, kind of like a kid would. So he's, you know, like, relatable in that sense. He's kind of like the opposite to Emma, where she's really, like, energetic and outgoing and active and everything like that. He's much more, like, I don't want to use the word cold, but, like, you know, calculating and reserved, and, like, he'd much rather, you know, hang out and, like, read a book rather than go, you know, like, play a game of tag. And he's very, very smart, very analytical, really good with coming up with a plan. He's a good liar. You know, they use that aspect of him a couple times. You know, with mother and stuff like that. Yeah, Ray's just, I mean, he's a really, really good character. Especially in the first season. You know, the first 12 episodes of Promised Neverland are peak.
Yeah. Also, quick shout out to is the mom's name like Isabella or something?
Yes, I believe so.
A quick shout out to her. I think she's a great villain because she's one of those villains that's scary because they're always composed, and you never know how much they know. I think that's like a very good way to do an antagonist. So quick shout out to her. But Ray's freaking cool. I think season 1 Ray, like A tier, but because season 2 exists, might put him in B. I don't think that's that fair because that's not Rei's fault. That's a series fault.
Right.
But like,
I mean, but that's also kind of the same thing we put Kaneki so low is because so much of the anime of Tokyo Ghoul is just bad.
Yeah.
So like this is based off of the anime, so we do have to take that into an account.
So I put him in B still because I don't think his character gets worse per se. I just think the anime like messed up the general experience, which made Rei just worse as a character with everyone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, B tier is probably where he deserves to go, solely based off the anime adaptation. All right, from Demon Slayer, pretty much, I think for the rest of these, other than One Piece, we all agree.
Save One Piece for last.
Yeah, we'll save One Piece for last for sure. Rengoku from Demon Slayer. So we both agreed is our favorite character.
Yeah, coolest character in Demon Slayer, in my opinion. I think
Definitely.
he's awesome. I wasn't expecting his backstory to be as deep as it was, although actually, I guess I'm not surprised in retrospect. Like when someone just doesn't show emotion on their face, there is usually a very big reason behind that. So you could kind of see something coming, but then when it actually came, I was like, oh shoot, like that was pretty good. Like I know I've said this before, but I found the first season of Demon Slayer grossly overrated, but I actually really liked the movie. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Have you seen the second season of the anime?
Well, that's Entertainment District, right?
Yes.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Well, so I guess I don't even remember like the way that they broke it down, but I guess like the first half of the second season is basically the movie and anime the movie and anime form. They do throw a couple extra things in there, like there's a couple of episodes that you get to see that weren't in the movie about like, you know, him traveling to the train and everything, you know, because like when the movie starts he's already on the train and he's, you know, eating and laughing, so you get to see like his journey to get there. And then there's also some more like stuff with his backstory and his father and everything in there that they don't like touch on as much like in the movie and stuff. So there are like a few extra like scenes and bits of his character and everything if you go back and watch those. But basically, yeah, I mean, Rengoku's just cool. He's positive. He's upbeat. He's always laughing, which I think is also really cool and admirable considering, like, you know, when you do learn his backstory about his father and how, like, abusive and negative and everything, you know, that was for him. But he also, like, admires what his dad used to be so much that that's what made him want to become a Hashira and everything. And, like, he has a little brother who he's also trying to raise the right way, just again despite of like their home life and everything. So he's like his brother's hero and his inspiration and everything. So he's got this really interesting like family dichotomy, on top of just being, you know, he's one of the Hashira, so obviously one of the, you know, most badass, you know, physically characters in the entire series. His powers are cool, and then, you know, obviously there's the animation budget and everything that Demon Slayer has in the studio that makes it and everything, but, like, every scene that he's in the movie just looks top tier, and just, like, his voice acting and everything else like that. Like, Rengoku's just, like, really, really, really well done, even though you barely get to see him at all in the first season. They did a fantastic job with this character in the movie, and then the extra little bits that you get in the second season. And again, for like the third time, like, he's a flame swordsman. Fire's always my favorite ability, especially the way that they use it. His sword looks super badass. I love his character design with like the red and, you know, yellow hair, and his eyes and everything just like look super cool. His design is awesome. Yeah. I fucking love Rengoku. I think Rengoku's sick.
Yeah, and just quickly to talk about Cal, we did both agree that Inosuke was our number 2. Like, that was pretty clear. The only reason why, at least for me, the reason why I chose him more is because I just found his backstory better. I think he goes deeper than Inosuke, even though I probably enjoy Inosuke on screen more, but that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would pretty much agree to that. I also really like Tomioka. Like, Rengoku and Tomioka are my two favorite Hashira, at least, you know, from what I've seen so far. But yeah. Rengoku, I think, is like totally an A tier character.
I'm down. Yeah.
Cool. Would you put him higher or lower, or you think that's fair?
Probably put him A as well. Yeah.
Cool.
I think he's going to be in like the lower half of A, but yeah, A.
Right. Okay. Senku from Dr. Stone.
Senku's really cool. Like, that's, if you could describe him in a world, it's just, in a word, it's just cool. Like, he's a cool character. He just knows it. He has Giga Chad moments, like, when he knows exactly what year it is, when he, like, breaks out of the stone, they're like, how? He's like, oh, I counted.
I literally
like,
counted
what?
every second for, like, 3 million years or whatever it was. Like, what a fucking badass.
Yeah, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's just a really cool character. I think the reason why he won't be S tier for me is because I don't think there's too much an appeal to Senku besides the fact that he's just pretty cool. But I will say it is a feat that he made physics awesome, because I'm not gonna lie, like, I took physics. I did well in physics too, but like physics is like mid. Like,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would put Senku in S tier either. But I will say, like, I think that there are a lot of cool parts to his personality. I think it's awesome how smart he is. But to like a crazy degree, obviously. But like, I don't know, Dr. Stone, just like as a series, did a really good job, especially in the first season, of like breaking down the science of everything, of exactly how everything works, and like you can, he gives you the tools like in the show to be able to do everything that he does, and explains how to do it and everything, and I love that. And it actually like made science just like in general really cool. As far as Senku's personality, like, I think it actually has a lot more layers than a lot of people give him credit for, because, yeah, he is just kind of, like, stoic and, just, like, the smart guy for the most part, but he also is, like, a very good character in the sense of, like, his personality. He's very just, like, his entire thing, like, in the first and second season against Tsukasa is, like, Tsukasa wants to use this opportunity of, like, this new age to bring everyone back and build like, his idea of the ideal society and ideal world, and get rid of all the evil old people that are corrupt and, just want money and everything, and, the young and the fit, should rule the world. Senku's like, no, dude, fuck that. Like, the world may not have been perfect, and sure, there were bad people and everything, but, like, I want to bring the world back to the state that it was before everything happened. Like, I just want to rebuild the world to the status quo of what it was before. And, like, yeah, you can make the argument that there were shitty, fucked up people in the past and stuff, but, like, that doesn't give you the right to just go out and kill them, and, you get to be the person that decides whether they live or die, or if they have value to society or not, or whatever. Like, that's not your job, that's not my job, So I just want to get the world back to where it was before all this happened, so we can all, go back to living our lives and everything, and I think that's, really cool. He's totally against killing people, with the power of science and technology and, everything that he has, at his disposal in his mind, he totally could have built, weapons or bombs or explosives or whatever. He could have used the serum to kill people, or, only bring back the people that he wanted to, or whatever. But he does everything the right way and the just way, and he, doesn't want to infringe on anyone else's right to live or exist or whatever, and he tries as hard as he can to never have to resort to violence. And, with science, there's always a way around every problem, even though Tsukasa is a threat and could kill them, at the end of the day, he finds out a way to be able to take down their empire without killing a single person. And, like, I think that there's, like, a lot of really good parts to Senku's character, personally, on top of the fact that, like, he is also kind of a dick. Like, him and, Gen really gel on that level, because both of them, like, they don't do anything evil, but they both do love, like, experimenting on people and kind of, like, fucking with them, and you can tell that there are plenty of moments where Senku's like, yeah, like, this is gonna fucking suck that you have to do this, but, like, haha, you kind of have to do it anyway, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. He's really funny and likable. I love Senku. I think he's, like, a lot deeper than a lot of other people, like, give him credit for, like, when you analyze it. But yeah, I think he's probably still an A-tier character. I still don't think I would put him in S-tier, but I do really, really like Senku, and I think he's the perfect kind of character for a story like Dr. Stone.
Agreed. That's or not S, A-tier.
Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! I picked Seto Kaiba.
Your mother, Kaiba. I activated her.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged is fantastic. Yeah. I love Kaiba. Which, like, he's kind of unlikable in the sense of, like, he's kind of a douchebag, you know what I mean? Like, especially where he's introduced in the series, like, he is that rich guy that expects to have everything, the entire world handed to him, and he can't handle when people lower than him, you know, talk back or things don't go his way or whatever. He does kidnap Yugi's grandpa, and he, you know, rips up his only copy of the Blue Eyes White Dragon so that he's the only person in the world that can ever use that card's power, and he's a genius, and he's got money, and he thinks he's better than everyone else, and so Yugi constantly has to spend basically the entire series putting him back in his place and being like, yeah, you may be rich, you may be powerful, you may even be really good at duel monsters, but you're not the best, and your way of doing things isn't the best. But Kaiba also goes through a lot of character development in Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially, like, you get to see the softer side of him, especially when it comes to his younger brother Mokuba, who gets kidnapped, you know, for the first season. That's basically Kaiba's entire motivation for going to Duelist Kingdom, is getting the soul of his younger brother back, because that's, like, the only person in the world that he actually loves and cares and respects. And he's willing to do anything to get Mokuba back, even sacrifice his own life, which it does come down to that point in one scene in the first season. But, I don't know. He's just really cool, and he's sleek. I love his character design. The Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, like, archetype has always been my favorite because of Kaiba. I built physically a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck that I have right here. That's like a meta Blue Eyes deck. I've always loved the Blue Eyes White Dragons. That's Kaiba's thing. He gets a lot of character development and stuff. He's really cool in Battle City. Yeah, I love Kaiba. He also has, like, he's got a lot of great one-liners, like, when he says to Joey, he's like, you're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck, and stuff like that. He's cold and he's brutal, and there are a lot of parts of him that are, like, really unlikable when you think about him, like, from that aspect. Like, he's definitely not the kind of guy that you would want to, like, you know, hang out or grab a drink with or whatever, but he plays his role very, very, very well, and he is still really talented and really smart and, you know, really good at everything. So, like, Kaiba's just really cool. He fulfills the, like, you know, badass quotient for Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much.
So,
yeah.
Oh, were you still going?
Oh, no, I was just I was trying to think of where I want to put him.
So for me, you highlighted a lot of why I also like Kaiba, like he's just super badass and all that sort of stuff. My one problem with Kaiba, and this is definitely a me thing, and you kind of talked about this, but it hits different for me, is how entitled he is. And the reason why it hits different for me is, as a man who's gone to a private school his entire life, Kaiba hits too close to home with the amount of people that think that because they have money, they are better, and it makes me want to rip my eyes out. I swear to God, I have encountered too many people, and it's not even their money either, it is their parents' money, But because they got daddy's money and mommy's money, they think that they're everything, and they think that they get to run like how the popularity at the school operates and shit, and it pisses me off so much. So, is Kaiba unlikable to most people? Yes, but he is like
He's
like an
real.
salt. It's like salt in a wound for me because I have encountered people like Kaiba so frequently in my life that it's just like it triggers so many bad memories that he's just unlikable to me because he's like that. Like, he's good at what he does. Like, he's good at it, but like,
Right.
it pisses me off so much. Where I'm like, dude, get off the screen, please, Jesus Christ.
But he does have so many badass moments, and because he's one of the main characters of the series, like, he is always, like, up there at the end of the tournament, or, you know what I mean? Like, he does get the opportunity to shine so much in the show because of the role that he plays. So, he's got plenty of, you know, screen time and lots of different, like, really badass and cool moments and stuff. And as much as, like, he is kind of a douchebag, he is actually still a character that I do root for, and I do, like, want to see him, like, win his duels and stuff. He's, like, he's unlikable in a likable way, if that makes sense.
I can understand that for you. For me, I hope he loses every match I see that man. I swear to God, every single time I see that, I was like, I really hope you get absolutely decimated right now by your opponent.
Yeah, I feel that. I also, like, I think the only other part of his character that I'll touch up on is, like, his inferiority complex, because he is just so used to being better than everyone else. When it comes to Yugi and the Pharaoh are, like, the only real, you know, people that can ever, like, truly put him in his place. And so I love their dynamic and their back and forth and everything, and how, like, basically everything that Kaiba does after a certain point of the series is motivated solely by trying to prove that he's better than Yugi and he's, like, the true king of games, only to repeatedly be slapped down or one-upped every single time. And I also think that that's, like, really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
I think Kaiba's an A-tier character, honestly. I could see him up there in A-tier with the other people. What do you think?
I'm A-tier.
You hate him so much.
I don't know, but the thing is, I know it's a me thing. Like, I know from an objective standpoint he is an A-tier character, but I want to, like, literally create an F-tier, put him alone in it, and be like, get fucked.
Just because of other, like, real people that you've met that are too much
not
like
even
Kaiba.
Kaiba's fault,
Yeah.
it's the fact that there's people in real life that are like him.
That is hilarious. Alright, Kaiba goes an A. Sora and Shiro from No Game No Life.
So
I know you have
earlier-
strong opinions about, like, the for lack of a better word, I guess, like, weirdness of their relationship with each other.
So Cal said earlier I like my sus characters, which is factual. However, Sora and Shiro, I don't know about this one. Like, like, I don't know. This is a little sus in a different way. I'm not too sure I'm liking this one. Like, I don't know, dude. It's like, are they bad characters? No. Are they sus? Yes. Like,
I do have to agree with you at least a little bit on that point. Like, it's a little. It wouldn't be so bad if the author of the series didn't go, like, so deep and dead, like, how weirdly close that they are.
yeah, like, they spent so much time on the relationship and not even relationship, but like the dynamic between the two. Like, there's just so much time and effort put into the writing in that specific section. I'm like, this is the literal worst part of both characters.
And to be
like,
completely honest, I really don't think that there's anything actually creepy going on between the two. I think it's just, like, the way that the relationship is portrayed, but I don't think they're actually, like, into each other that way. I think they're both just such a huge part of each other's lives. Like, they're not complete without the other one in that sense. So, like, they need each other and to be around each other and to spend all of their time with each other, because that's the way that they are at their best, is with the other person there. But it's just kind of creepy when it's that way between like an older brother and a younger sister.
Yeah, nah, that's sus. Like, I don't like. I get that it's not creepy to like need to be with someone, but I don't know.
So like, if their exact same dynamic existed, but it was with an older brother and a younger brother, you know what I mean? If it was two brothers that both just like spent all of their time with each other and everything, I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. But it's because I think it's because it's an older brother and a younger sister that I think is why it creeps out so many people. Because if you saw a younger brother look at his older brother and be like, oh, I love you and you're my inspiration and I need you in my life and everything, you'd just be like, oh, okay, he just looks up to his brother and wants to be the kind of person that his brother is. But because it's a little sister saying that to her older brother, people are like, there's some weird, like, you know, romantic things in there, maybe, probably. Like, just the thought creeps into your head and that's what makes you weirded out.
Actually don't know if... Actually think I'd still be a little sus if it was a younger brother, because actually I think the thing isn't the gender, I think it's the age. I think if they were the same age, I wouldn't be as creeped out. Like, sure, they're like, if you made the sister the same age as the brother, like, yeah, sure, people would still be saying
like
it's
if
sus.
they were twins or something.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I kind of could feel the same connection, because you talked about the older and younger brother, and in that scenario, like, the younger brother saying that to the older brother is fine, but I don't know, it's the older brother saying it to the younger one that's sus to me. Like, just, I don't know, that dynamic is not sitting well with me.
Yeah.
Like, if they were the same age, I feel like I would be more okay with it. But that's not the point. The point right now is there's an older brother and a younger sister, and it is sus.
But you got to, okay, so, like, aside from that aspect, though, like, their individual personalities and, like, how clever they are and, like, the really, like, fun and unique ways that they, like, think of to overcome their challenges and, like, how skilled they are in everything game-related, whether it's, like, the giant games of chess, or it's like the battle, like, first-person shooter games later in the first season. Like, it is really cool and fun to see how talented they are and, like, their different ways that they can solve all of these issues, and, you know, like, how they recruit Jalal and everything like that. Like, I do think there's a lot of, like, good parts about their characters, like, individually, but then, like, the only real problem that anybody has is when it's focusing on, like, that one very specific part of their relationship. But other than that, I don't think anyone has any kind of problems with their personalities.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think their characters individually are fine. Just susness. So, I'd say B.
Gael, yeah, I don't really have any problems with their personality, but they're just sus and I don't like it. B. You gotta admit, dude, that's 100% what that is.
Yeah.
Alright, like, that's fair. I feel like they should at least be, like, well... Yeah, actually, no. Now that I'm looking at it, there are still a lot of other characters in A tier that I legitimately just do like better than them as well. So yeah, we could put them at B, but I feel like they're high B.
Sure.
All right.
Camo, this tier list is our favorite characters from each series. If you just see one character from the series, we both agreed that was our favorite character from the series. And if you see more than one, it means that each of us had our own favorite character and it wasn't the same as the others.
Mm-hmm.
All this is. Alright.
Yeah. Spike Spiegel, we both agreed, is the best character from Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, shout out to Faye and Vicious.
Yeah, Faye and Vicious are both also good characters. Spike, just like... Cowboy Bebop suffers a little bit, in my personal opinion, from, like, its narrative, because it is very, like, episodic and week to week and whatever, and it doesn't have, like, a very, like, clear or strong, like, follow through throughout the entire series. But, like, Spike's your stereotypical, just really cool dude, you know. He's funny and he's witty and he's good looking and he's charming, and, you know, he smokes his cigarettes and, you know, he has his, you know, badass kung fu moments and stuff, and like he's just until you get more like towards the end, like with his backstory and his stuff with Vicious and all that stuff, like there are parts of the story that are that and like make his character better. For the most part, he's, you know, pretty one note and not like very developed, I wouldn't say. What do you think?
Yeah, like he's really cool, and that's like it, pretty much. Like, sure, there is backstory to him, but it's not until the very end, and it is there at least, so I'll give him props for that. But it came so late, and like, yes, he's a likable character, and yes, you'll root for him, and yes, he's fun to watch when he's on screen, but like, the extra layer of depth doesn't come until the very end of the series, which to me just like doesn't really defeat the complexity of him, but it makes him like more of a silhouette of a character than it is like a full-fledged character. So like he's not going to be in like S as much as I like him, but he's also not like terrible, so he's not going to be like in like the bottom 2 tiers or anything.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, like, and I get that, Cal, and I get what you're coming from. That's just not like my preferred kind of like story arc for a character. I guess is maybe why I don't like him as much as some other people do. I prefer a little bit more like depth or layers or like nuance to characters personally. So, and Spike doesn't get a lot of that for the majority of the series, but I mean, like, he does his role well as just like the cool, badass, like suave, you know, main character of the series. So, I think Spike should either be like at the very, very top of B or like somewhere in the bottom of A. That's where I would put him.
If we're allowing Kaiba to be an A, we're putting Spike in A.
That's fair. Honestly, just that alone is honestly fair. Alright, this is probably the only other character that I think we both agree is either going to end up in C or D tier, but it's Subaru from ReZero.
I mean, I've gone on my tangent before on why I think Subaru is an amazing character, but he's a bitch. So...
And he has horrible taste in women and makes bad decisions.
Okay, the bad decision making I think is still a part of his great character. I think his women taste is bad still. Yeah. I think he's an amazing character. I think him screwing up adds more humanity to his character, especially because of the situation that he's in. I think the emotions he faces are some of the most human emotions that I have ever seen in almost any character ever. So, that alone, like, Subaru wasn't, like, annoying at times and, like, wasn't a bitch. Like, he's actually an easy S-tier character with the way that he's written. But, like, he's a bitch. So, he's dropping a little bit. Not all the way. I don't think in any way he deserves to be in B or C, like you said, actually. I think he's at least a B tier character, if not maybe an A tier character. But, like, I do agree he's not likable enough to, like, be an S tier character.
Right. I mean, okay, like, there are merits to his personality and stuff, and like you said, like, the way that he handles different things throughout the series is very, like, real and relatable, and, like, how an actual person would probably like handle those situations. So like in that sense I can see like he is well written. I guess I just don't really like him, to be totally honest. At least not as much as like a lot of other people do, or like maybe okay, I worded that wrong. It's not that I don't necessarily like him. I don't like him nearly as much as I like a lot of other characters on this list, like in comparison. I guess is probably a better way to put that.
I got you. Like, if this was a list of, like, random characters, I'd probably put Subaru in, like, A. But, like, because these are, like, some elite characters, I might put him in B.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way, too, to be completely honest. Yeah, we'll put him in
But,
B.
like, out of the B tier characters, I will just, like, we'll put emphasis on the fact that he's the best written by far out of those B tier characters.
Yeah, I mean, we can even put him at the... Well, if Aizawa would move over. Does that make you feel better?
We'll organize at the end, but yeah, sure.
Right. Okay, we'll say One Piece for the last because there's 2 characters there, so we'll just do Yami Sukehiro, which is both of our favorite character from Black Clover.
Mm-hmm. Awesome character.
Yeah. Go for it.
I don't know how hot of a take this is going to be. I feel like, so a lot of people say that he's like an amazing character, and I do agree. My problem is, I don't know if this is just me, but like, was I the only person who was like incredibly underwhelmed by his backstory? Because, don't get me wrong, it doesn't necessarily take away from his character. I still think Yami's a great character. I still think his backstory is fine, but just like, I feel like there should be so much more. And the only information is he was a foreigner and he got neglected as a kid, but we never see it, and we never know to what extent.
Right.
The reason why a story like that works in Naruto is because with Naruto you actually get to see it and he has to defy it. They didn't even show us a single instance of that with Yami. We just hear, yeah, he was an outcast, and then fast forward, he's a badass now because he worked hard. Which, like, it's a good blueprint.
You see a little bit of that, like, of when he was, like, a younger magic knight, you know, after he already got here and everything, and how he had to, like, you know, struggle and work his way up the ranks. But as far as, like, his actual backstory, like, from the country that he came from and all of that, yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't really get any of that. Or really even, like, a concrete reason of, like, why he left in the first place to, like, come to the Clover Kingdom.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was underwhelmed by that, so I can't, like, as much as I like him, I don't think I could put him in S tier because he's just, like, there's not much to him outside of, like, the very, like, shallow backstory we have, plus he's awesome. I think he's an A tier character, personally.
Yeah. I will say, as far as, like, you know, the current, you know, like, backstory and everything taken out of it, as far as, like, his impact on the characters and the story and, like, the current timeline, like, as the series is going week to week. I mean, other than, I guess, Asta, because he's the main character, but I don't think any other character has as much, like, impact or relevance on the story as Yami does. Because in the earlier parts, you know, before the crew gains their powers, you know, or develops them or whatever, like, Yami is always the one to show up and save the day at the end, or, like, push past his limits, or give the inspirational speech, or whatever, you know, that makes everyone else, you know, better. Plus the fact that, like, he is really strong and really badass in his own right. I mean, like, even though he's the captain of the Black Bulls, which is the, guild that everyone looks down at the most. I mean, like, other than Vengeance, you know, who's the leader of the #1 guild, like, Yami's easily, like, second strongest. You know what I mean?
Actually, I think Yami's stronger than Vengeance in some aspects, actually.
I mean, probably not because of his specific magic, which is super badass and super fucking cool. His darkness and, like, void magic, or I forget, I've read a couple different translations of, like, what it actually, like, is called.
Just your dark magic.
Yeah, darkness magic, whatever. But, like, I love the way that he fights with a sword, like his katana, and he mixes his, like, magic in with that. On top of the fact that, like, Yami's already, like, super strong and super badass from the very beginning, but you also get to see him grow and learn new abilities and master his powers and everything more, you know, as the series goes on. Like, Yami, just because he's a captain doesn't mean he can't still grow and get stronger and better and everything.
That's true.
He is also, like, the main inspiration for Asta. Like, I don't want to give away too many spoilers or anything, like, but when it comes to the stuff with the Spade Kingdom and the 3, you know, devils, like, invade, and it's, like, Asta and Yami together fighting against Damien or whatever his name is. And, Yami's constantly, the one to, help Asta push past his limits and everything. I think Yami's, like, really, really cool. And I think he has, like, a great relationship with the rest of the cast.
Yeah, no,
I
I agree. My favorite part of Black Clover is the relationship between the Black Bulls.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. And I guess this is more of like a Charlotte thing than it is a Yami thing, but I also love their whole dynamic and how she's like madly in love with him and he's just like so oblivious to it and never picks up on it and stuff like that. I also think like that dynamic is super, super funny. Yes, I mean, we can put Yami in A tier. Because you're right, like, a lot of these other characters are, like, way more, like, deeper developed in that sense. But yeah, I feel like he's, like, really high A tier, though.
Yeah, no, like, I think Yami is, like, as likable as an S tier character. I just don't think he has as much backing as other S tier characters. Mm-hmm. Like, he's as likable. I mean, like, you were talking about the relationship with him and the Black Bulls. And, like, he gives tough love, but he is super caring, like... I mean, he has those quirky lines where he's like, if you die, I'm gonna kill you. Like, he said stuff like that.
Or all the really funny stuff about, like, how much time he spends shitting on the toilet. Yeah. Like, don't you dare interrupt my bathroom time.
Yeah. No, it's like, all that stuff's hilarious. He's also a badass. Like, remember, he's fighting, I think he's fighting, like, Dante or whatever, and he blows a hole through his chest, and Dante's like, why didn't you just aim for the head? He's like, why didn't you just aim for the head? And he's like, oh, I mean, it looked like a target on your chest, so I just, like, kind of did it.
Yeah. Like, Yami's just super, super cool. I think, like, very high A tier, I think is probably right for him. Alright.
One Piece.
Yep, we're at the end of the tier list now. We saved the best for last. Our two favorite characters from our favorite series. One Piece is your favorite series, right? Yeah, of course. So, our two favorite characters from our favorite series. I wonder where they'll go. I mean, definitely in D tier, 100%. Which one do you want to do first, Law or Zoro?
I mean, we're going to gush about both of them. I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I know you're probably more passionate about Zoro than I am about Law, so we can do Law first.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to get Law. So Law is Gail's favorite character, and obviously Zoro is mine. So.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of Law, for me, he's a complete package character where he's badass. He has he's very likable in terms of his emotions and stuff, and his dynamic with other people. And on top of that, he has a great backstory, which I think are like the main components that make anything like a great character. In Law's case, super badass, just like the way he acts. He's like super laid back and stuff, but like he'll handle business when he needs to, and he's wicked smart. So that's super cool. Also, his ability is just like seriously entertaining to watch with like all the different moves he's got.
Super OP.
I think it's the closest thing to Toto's ability. You said you've never seen anything like Toto's Boogie Woogie. I think the closest thing I can think of is Law's ability.
Yeah, because he can take things and change their position with it. So, I mean, yeah, that is true.
Yeah, so that's like the closest, and that's like a seriously cool ability. So he's got a cool ability. He's super smart, super laid back. He'll handle business when he needs to, and he's powerful. I mean, like, so that's the badass aspect of him, which he hammers home A+. And then you have his actual character, and that's a pretty likable guy because, as I said, he's laid back, which is like a lot of people just kind of like those type of chill characters. But he can also be super funny. Like, his interactions with Luffy are actually priceless sometimes. Like how like he has such an amazing plan, and then Luffy just does something, and he's just standing there like, what?
And he's gotten to the point in the series where he's just like, I'm not even gonna put Luffy in my plans, because I know he's gonna do whatever the fuck he wants anyway, so like, I just have to kind of count him as an X factor and try to work around that.
Yeah. Like, I loved how Law was like, you cannot reveal who you are until you find Kaido, and then he just does an elephant gun in the first room, and everyone's
seriously.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
It's like, seriously, dude. Like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, so that's also amazing. And then finally, you have the third aspect of him, which is backstory. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people go back and forth on what their favorite
Koro-san!
I know a lot of people go back and forth on what their favorite backstory is in One Piece. My personal favorite is Nico Robin's, but my second favorite is Law's backstory. I think it's a phenomenal, very deep, very depressing, but also very impactful backstory that I really do
Mm-hmm.
appreciate a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got every aspect to like about a character. So like
Mm-hmm.
he's great for me.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. We'll put him in S tier, obviously. Yeah, I think I don't really think too much more I can add on to Law, but yeah, I mean, kind of like what you said, he kind of hits all of the notes from personality to power to like backstory and relatability and everything else. Yeah, Law's fantastic. Um,
Hmm.
and obviously Zoro, you guys all know that this is coming if you know me literally at all. Zoro's S tier, absolutely S tier.
Not even close.
Yeah, he's like above S tier if there was one. But he is the in a lot of ways he's the linchpin of the Straw Hat crew. On top of like, I could go over how cool and strong he is, and all of his different abilities and his hockey. He's got all three types confirmed now. I mean, like I could. The moment with Pika where he's, literally the size of the entire city and just dices him up. Like, I could go through so many different, like, badass moments, obviously, from this image, that nothing happened or whatever. But kind of, like, going into that, I think he's also, like, the linchpin of the crew a lot of the ways. Like, you have the nothing happened moment where he's willing to sacrifice himself, like, for his captain and for the rest of the crew if it means that Kuma will just, like, go away after that and leave the rest of them alone. And even after this moment happens, he never tells anybody about it. He doesn't need the recognition or to let anybody else know what happened. He was just doing his job as you know, um, the second in command. But you also have the moment with like Usopp wanting to leave, and Luffy and Chopper wanted to go get him back immediately, and Zoro had to have that speech of, kind of reminding Luffy of what his role is supposed to be. Like, you're the captain, Usopp respected you, disrespected you. This was his decision. He has to stand by it and live with it. You have to stand by it and live with it. You can't just, let people walk all over you, because what kind of captain does that make you, and what kind of crew does that make us? And, you have to demand a certain level of respect and responsibility, and if you can't be the kind of captain that I think you should be, then I'm going to be the one that leaves the crew next. And it's like a very kind of like rude and harsh thing to say at the moment, but it's also very, very, very true. And Zoro's always the kind of character that's there to say and do the really hard thing when no one else, wants to do it, like, because of their personalities and stuff. Chopper's young, Sanji's distracted by titties all the time, like, Luffy and Usopp are goofy, Frankie's also really goofy, Brook is, they're all, but Zoro he does his role perfectly. He's super badass. He's the ultimate example of the, like, really strong, stoic, like, kind of silent character, but when he is on screen and when he does show up and when he does get serious, it grabs everyone's eyes and attention. He's just, yeah, he's just my favorite character. He doesn't have the best backstory in the world, at least, like, the way that it was portrayed to us at first, with the whole, like, Kuina and everything. But, we're this deep into One Piece now, and he's, we're learning even more about his backstory and where he comes from and who he's related to and, everything like that. So, I mean, like, we still don't even really know the depths of Zoro's character yet, because it's still, being fleshed out, 25 years later. But yeah, I think those are just some of the, reasons to, like, love him, on top of how strong and badass and everything that he is. But yeah, Roronoa Zoro is one of my favorite characters in all of anime.
Yep.
Yeah. And now if you want, we can reorganize the list.
For sure.
I guess we can just work our way up from bottom to top. D tier and C tier I think are fine. I don't really need to. I mean, I guess actually, personally, if I was going to do it, I'd probably do it like that, but that's really the only thing I would change.
Yeah, D tier is fine, and C tier is also fine. Yeah, it's good.
B tier then. Actually, to be totally honest with you, I kind of like the way that it is right now, actually, but...
Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah, it's good.
Actually, I want to do that. I think that's actually better. Yeah, I think that's better.
Serves them right.
The sus bastards. A tier, yeah, this is where obviously it's going to start getting a little bit more complicated.
I would put... Do we give, like, each other's top 5s for A tier, and then we can kind of figure it out?
Yeah,
because
probably.
Like My top 5 for A tier: Yami, Akimaru, Nanami, Netero, and Levi.
You know, I like that for a top 5, actually. I think I agree. I personally would probably have Kenshin over Levi.
You can do that if you want. I haven't seen all of Kenshin yet, so I am okay with that.
Okay.
But after Levi, I would put Rio.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And then I'd probably... Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
And probably...
Honestly, objective... I almost kind of want to drop Koga down to B tier, to be honest with you, but... Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that, actually. But I'll put him, like...
Right.
I'll put him, like, there.
Sounds good.
I
think you obviously like Joseph more than me, so I think you should handle that how you want.
Joseph, so just like pure enjoyability, I think probably like there, honestly. This all looks pretty good after that, honestly. I think I'm pretty happy with that.
Actually, I put Oikawa next to Asahi at least, though.
Yeah, we can do that. I think I like that. I think that's pretty good.
Someone's going to get mad at the fact that we have Nagisa below Darkness, and I love that.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna put Rengoku above him too, honestly.
All right.
Just again from pure enjoyment of watching. I don't know, like every moment that Rengoku was on screen, I thought was super badass.
Yeah.
And Nagisa has a lot of good moments, but a lot of his development doesn't come until like the second half of the season. You know what I mean? So, or the second half of the series. So.
All right, time for the impossible one. Here we go.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that being A tier, to be totally honest with you. Yeah, S tier is gonna be hard. So if it was me, and putting them in an order is really hard, but I think Zoro, Yusuke, and Kamina should be in the top 3.
My top 3 are going to be... I do like Law more, but I'm okay with Zoro top 3. I think we can both agree on that.
Okay.
Then, after that, I am also okay with putting Yusuke top 3. And instead, I know you really like Kamina. I personally would have Guts top 3 though.
You know what? I can agree to that. We could put Kamina there.
4th. Yeah.
I think Askeladd being in the top 5 seems right to me. Itachi though.
Oh my gosh, this is tough. Yo, low-key, you know what? You know what I'm thinking about right now? Just like, honestly, even above Askeladd, I'd put fucking Toto above Askeladd.
Like, yeah. God, Toto's just so much fun.
Bro, when we were talking about him, I was thinking about how much I love this character.
Mm-hmm. Toto is super, super good. God, see, not having Itachi in the top 5 almost seems wrong.
I'd put Itachi next to Askeladd.
Like in between, like that, or after Askeladd, like down one.
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
I know, man, it's so tough.
Like, putting Askeladd ahead seems right, but also putting Itachi ahead also seems right. Like, they both feel, like, right and wrong at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I think Itachi making the... Well, because that, even then, that's still 6. That's not even in the top 5.
I think that's good, like that. Those first 7 are good.
Yeah.
Then...
Garo's gotta go next, right?
I was going to say that, but I'm looking and I see Hiei and Kenpachi still out.
Yeah, that is also true. I think I actually, yeah, you know what? I am okay with that. I think like that. I think I like Kenpachi a little bit more than Hiei. But I think that works cool.
My bottom of S tier, like my bottom 3 are Mustang, Ishiki, and Mob.
Yeah. I think I like Mob more than L.
Low-key same, actually. Now thinking about that, I'm like,
yeah, so let's do like that, and then, man, not having Lelouch like super high up here is hard for me too. So we want to do like, where does Lelouch go? I feel like maybe right after Garo. That feels right.
I'm down. I'm actually... Okay, this is looking pretty good now.
Yeah, I think so too. It's honestly like also one of those things where I could see putting a lot of these characters in a lot of different like positions. Like, you get real nitpicky once you're up here with like how good all of these characters are. I think it also just comes down to like, you know, do you prefer a psychological thriller like Lelouch or L, or do you prefer like a actiony badass like Toto or Kenpachi? You know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of just comes down to personal preference at that point, because they're all like really good characters.
But yeah, I'm okay with this. I liked how this turned out.
I think I want to put Minato above Hisoka though.
All right.
And then actually, like, Bon and Escanor are very comparable to me. Like I said, like 1A, 1B, so I'm actually really okay with having them be like right next to each other.
Yeah.
I like this. I like the way that this turned out. And I think it's funny how I actually agreed with you to put Itachi like above Minato, even though like I like Minato more as a character. Like Minato for me is more like flashy and just really cool with the run on sight and order everything, but like objectively speaking, backstory and struggle and everything that the character goes through and everything like that, like Itachi's definitely like a deeper character. Like, that's for sure.
That's why I agreed with you on stuff like Yusuke over Hiei, even though Hiei is my favorite. It's like technically speaking, like Yusuke is the better character.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
I don't really see any like glaring holes, or I think anything that we got like super wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm happy with this.
Did a good job.
Yeah, I think we did too. Hell yeah. I could also I could put this, and if it's still up, I should download that VOD and put both of these last character lists that we did, put them on YouTube. Just for shits and giggles, because why not?
You know, get some viewers.
Yeah. Alright, well, I think that's going to do for our favorite characters in anime tier list. I'm satisfied with how this turned out. I think this is a pretty good list. Gael, any final words you want to say before we find somebody to raid?
No, but this was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it again next week.
Heck yeah, next week's list should be a lot of fun. I think me and you we're going to probably argue a little bit more about that one. Either that or just fanboy over it a little harder.
Bro, we're gonna have such degen hours next week.
This is gonna be pretty great.